But yeah, my dad's 82 is the same way. Like trying to find parts. 82 K10. And I've got it running, but I need to finish it up. It's sitting back there in my shop.
You can't beat that old stuff. There's a company called LMC Truck that has that, and there used to be one called Obsolete Ford that I was able to get, but I pretty much got everything I need.
Yeah,
I mean, I still run it. It's not. It used to be my daily driver, but now I just use it on the weekend. See, I got a 22 Tacoma that I bought new.
Yeah.
And I just put like turned 30,000 miles on it. And then I got, I don't know if you know John Stewart. You remember John Stewart? Well, unfortunately, his mother-in-law passed away.
Yeah.
And she had a 2011 Camry with 50,000 miles on it. And it needed tires and a paint job and stuff. And he just ran around with it for like a year, just used it. And I had a 2003 Mustang convertible GT that I bought from the original owner.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, that car sat outside because I don't have a garage or any type of cover for it. So after a while, the tires were dry rotten, and the top was messed up, and the paint was messed up. So I put a new top on it, and so me and John we swapped.
Yeah.
I took the Camry, and he took the Mustang. Now, he probably got the better end of the deal. There's no doubt about it. But because I was just going to use the Camry as a beater.
Yeah.
But once I put a new set of tires on it, man, it rode like a dream. So I ended up putting paint job on it, new tires. I had to put a windshield in it. So now, between the Tacoma and the Camry, I should never, ever have to buy another car again.
No.
Because I do like 2 weeks in the Camry, 2 weeks in the truck, 2 weeks in the Camry to keep everything rotated.
Uh-huh.
And then I drive the Ford on the weekends just because I like to.
Now, did you finally get rid of the old Tundra you had?
The Tundra I traded in on the Tacoma.
Ah.
I did. I ended up having 250,000 miles on it, and it still ran like a dream.
Yeah.
And I tell you, my sister, I took it down to Florida. I have a sister in Florida. And she goes, so you drove your truck down here? I said, yeah, Nita, it's great. I said, I got like 250,000 miles on. It's fine. She goes, you really need to get rid of it and get yourself a new truck. I said, are you crazy? There's nothing wrong with this truck. She goes, no, not now. She says, but sooner or later, you're going to need a new vehicle. And she says, and I'm telling you, you don't want to retire with a car payment.
Yeah, that's true.
So I retired. So I paid the truck off a little bit early. So I did not retire with the car. And she was right. My sister, I called her the wise owl. She's 76. And she's the wise owl. And she told me straight out, you cannot retire with a car payment. She goes, it's crazy.
Yeah.
She goes, as long as you're still working. So I'm like, oh, man, she's right. So I traded in the Tundra, and I got the Tacoma.
Yeah.
So
that's like me. I drive that old Crown Vic out there.
I see it out there with the cop lights.
I got my old P71, my cop car.
Man, I seen that. I said, I'm in the right place or what?
Yeah, everybody knows when I'm working there at base, everybody knows the cop car.
The cop car sitting there.
And I just wanted something I could put a ton of miles on and not really care about, and kind of be like, dependable. And I got my sister a cop car, an older one. Well, hers had a ton of miles on it, but she just wanted something to drive back and forth to work. And I found one, and she put a lot of miles on it. And then I found that one, and I was like, you know what? This thing's kind of smooth to drive. I drove it up to Atlanta one time, and when she got it, when I got it for it, it needed a couple things. Like fan wasn't coming on. Yeah, and it was like a couple small things I fixed for it. But I drove it, and I was like, this thing rides good. It's a big rear-wheel drive American sedan.
Absolutely.
And I found that one, and I love my cop car.
Well,
it rides good, and it's got power, and it still gets 20, 21 miles a gallon, so it's not horrible.
The Camry, like I said, it was just a beater. It was just something to take around because, I didn't want to take my dog in the Mustang because it had leather seats.
Yeah.
And, claws and leather seats just don't match. And I always take the dog with me everywhere. So I wasn't really using the car at all. It sat a lot. But the Camry, I just put some covers on it, and I took it to Tampa. I took it to Atlanta. I think I'm taking it to maybe Destin this weekend.
Yeah.
I said, so I'm putting some miles on it, and it drives great. So I'm very pleased with it.
Yeah.
To say that, I didn't think I would.
You can't beat a Camry.
Well, I never thought I would be in a 4-door car, because 4 doors are just 2 doors too many for me.
Yeah?
I'm like, I don't care what I look at. If it's 4 doors, don't even show it to me. Too many doors, 2 doors too many.
Yeah. Well, your Tacoma's got 4 doors, though.
Yeah. Well,
that's the most
I mean, in
popular
a
truck
sports
now,
car,
though. Oh, yeah,
you know, in a car, a two-door car,
Yeah.
you know, a four-door car to me is just a family sedan, and I would have no use for it.
Yeah.
It's always just been, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, I got mine. You know, I still haul the girls around, and
Well, yeah.
You know, I'm picking up Adeline from school in the cop car, which I don't know if she thinks that's cool or funny, or if she's got to the age where like, Dad, you're embarrassing me. Pick me up with like the cop car, but whatever.
Well, how old are they now?
Adeline's about to be 11. And
You're
Ruby's
kidding me.
Yep, and Ruby's 4. So,
Wow.
Yeah, she's 4 going on 14. I'm telling you, she's gonna be a handful.
You think? I heard the second one's kind of rough.
Man, I'm telling you, she's a little.
You might have been spoiled with the first one.
Yeah, Adeline's the bookworm. She's smart and, you know, pretty level headed, and Ruby is she's gonna be the wild one, wild. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch out for her when she's gonna give me and her mama a lot of gray hairs when she gets to teenage years. I'm afraid.
Well, you know, we had 5 in our family, and the middle child, my sister.
Yeah.
My father called her a tiger for a reason, Tiger-ree, because this girl was off the chain. Well, you know, she grew up in the 60s. She was part of the whole 60s movement.
Yeah.
You know, so she was right there as 16, 17, 18 years old when all that stuff was going on. So, yeah, she was wild. She was a wild child.
Well, before I get too much into it with you, till we get too off track, let me at least introduce you.
Okay.
For people in this area, I'm sure you know who I got here. This is Mr. Pete Radano. Pete Radano has been a paramedic for 30 years. Have you worked Dougherty pretty much all those 30 years? How long did you work Dougherty?
Dougherty and Lee.
Dougherty and Lee?
That was it. Dougherty and Lee, that's all I worked.
Yeah. Pete's also a nurse. He's an RN, although admittedly he says he hasn't worked very much as a nurse, but I'm sure he'd be a great nurse. But Pete is one of the people in this area that I highly respect, just as a person, as a leader, and a person or a medic who's always been very knowledgeable with a great bedside manner. And even as supervisor, he was probably the best supervisor you could ask for. And I don't think anybody who's ever worked under Pete would disagree with me. If they have, I don't know him, nor have I heard from him. They're probably not. I'm sure there's somebody that doesn't like you, but they got to be few.
I'm sure there is.
between.
I guarantee there is. There always is. But you know what? I'm humbled by that and those kind words. But thank you so much.
But it's the truth. You know, I know not just myself, but I know a lot of people respect you, Pete, and like you. So.
Well, I appreciate that.
And that's another reason I want to have you on here, just because.
Well, thank you. I'll do my best.
Look, you just got all you have to do, Pete, is just be Pete.
Just be myself.
That's easy. That's all you got to do.
All right, we'll try it.
Yeah. But where did you grow up?
You know, I was born and raised in New York City, Queens, New York, not Manhattan.
Oh.
So in one of the 5 boroughs, so it's all considered New York City. But when people think of New York, of course, they think of Manhattan.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Queens, which was like a 20-minute train ride away. Huh. So I stayed there, you know, my formative years. I graduated high school there, and then my father passed away when I was 12.
Yeah.
So this guy, he was jogging, had a massive heart attack, and died at 12. And when I was 12, and the thing about it, Brad, he was in better shape than I was. I mean, this guy, he was actually before his time.
How old was he?
He was 55 years old when he died, but he was a man before his time because he was playing tennis in the late 60s. No one played tennis in the 60s. No one jogged for their health.
No.
Maybe he probably shouldn't have.
That's just going to make your heart beat faster. And you're going to use up all those beats.
Well, you know, they didn't do things like 12 leads. They didn't know about, you know, cholesterol and everything, which, you know, I think I was inherited the cholesterol gene. But, you know, so, you know, he passed away when I was 12. So it was just, you know, and then as you know, the family grew. My sisters all got married and moved off. So it was just me and my mom. And, you know, taking care of a, you know, 16, 17-year-old in New York City was kind of rough. I mean, she really didn't know what she was in for.
Yeah.
So,
did y'all move down here from there?
Well, no, we actually moved to Virginia. Mm-hmm. And I spent some time in Virginia. And then she got really sick. And then at that time, we moved her here to be closer to my sister, so I was helping my sister. Well, we ended up moving to help my sister take care of her. Yeah. And that's how we ended up here. And, you know, at this point, everybody's gone. So I'm here.
Was your sister living here in Albany?
My sister was, her husband got transferred to that Peter Pan factory, the peanut butter factory in Sylvester. So that's how they made it down here.
And was that your oldest that you were just talking about? Your oldest sister?
No, she's my second oldest sister.
Okay.
My oldest sister lives in Tampa.
Yeah.
And I still have 2 sisters in New York that I visit, which I will be visiting a lot more now I'm retired.
Yeah. Pete just retired.
Yes, I did. 10 days. It hasn't sunk in yet. It's sort of like I took 3 shifts off right now and I'm ready to go back to work. But, it hasn't sunk in that this is it. Well, I say that's it. I work PRN at Phoebe.
Yeah.
At Phoebe North in the rehab department, helping the techs, like the occupational therapist and the physical therapist, with stroke patients.
Yeah, I think you work with my nephew's, now his wife, was his fiance, Gracie?
Yes.
Yeah, that is my nephew is Drew. That's his that's his
Is
wife.
that right?
Yeah, small world.
I know, it is a small world. Gracie did say that. So I'm there 1 weekend a month. So it's just PRN, and it helps. My wife had a stroke, basically, and these people helped her. So I'm trying to give back, helping the people who helped her.
Yeah.
So, do I really, is it, groundbreaking? No, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I'm giving back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I can completely understand that, and I'm sure they greatly appreciate that. I know Gracie says good things about you, but like I said, I don't really know anybody that's ever said too much bad
you're going to run into somebody sooner or later, Brett. I guess.
I'll probably have a lot of questions for them because, like, why don't you like Pete? What did Pete do? You're going to have to explain to me in detail.
I'm sure they'll give you plenty of reasons.
Yeah.
There's plenty of
I'm
them.
sure along the way there's somebody, but I would have a lot of questions for him. I'd be like, you got to tell me this story of why Pete made you so upset with him.
Man. They'll tell you. Yeah. They'll tell you.
But when you moved down here to Albany, how old were you when you found down here?
You know what? I moved to Albany, I'm thinking 91 is when I moved to Albany.
Yeah.
And I was working at the Mary Acres Hotel, Quality in Mary Acres on Dawson Road, and I was the maintenance supervisor out there.
Yeah.
So we had done a lot of electrical and air conditioning and that whole thing. And it was a great job. I mean, it was good. He paid me well, Mr. Gary Dozier. He paid me well. I was a pretty much Monday through Friday job, no nights. Weekends were on call. But, it left my nights open. And that's when I decided to go to EMT school.
Yeah.
And back then, and it was in like 95, it was like 2 nights a week, 4 hours a night at Albany Votech. And it was, I can't remember if it was a 6-month or a 9-month course, which is what it was.
Yeah.
So I went, because I had nothing to do at night. I figured, why don't just, it sounded cool. That's when all these cop shows were coming out, and I was a lot older. So I went to the EMT school, and I done real well. And Richard Roberts at the time, I don't know if you remember Richard Roberts.
I remember him.
Yep, he was the training officer for Dougherty County EMS.
Even back then?
He was the training officer back then, yeah.
So he's training officer for what, like 20 years then or something?
A long time. Yeah. But part of his training, he was also the teacher at Votech for the basic class, which, didn't really mean anything to me at the time. I just went to class and I done well.
Yeah.
And when I passed, I got my basic license, and Richard's like, you want to come, work for Dougherty County. And at the time I was like, no, I'm good. I got a good job over here. I'll use it, when I need it. And then after about 5 or 6 months, I went up to him. I said, hey, I can use the money, could do something at night. He said, Bobby Tripp is hiring. He says, and at the time, Bobby Tripp was the director of Dougherty County EMS. And back then, things were so much different, Brad. Bobby Tripp only hired 5 people a year part-time. That was it, 5 a year, and he would not hire you unless you had 2 years' experience. And then that's the way it was. And he checked references, about you. I mean, it was really tough, and it was hard to get on there. Well, Richard put a word in for me, and I thank Richard. He really got me started in this career. And Bobby Tripp told him to come in and talk to him, and I interviewed. He goes, I'll tell you what. He goes, I'll give you a shot, because I had no experience, and he would never do that. So I was like the first person Dougherty County EMS ever hired without any experience. So once I got hired, I worked 7 24-hour shifts in a row. I'm sorry, not in a row, but with one crew. It was on D shift. So every 4 days, and they pounded me to make sure. Bobby Tripp, and I had some other things going on, like when I was a kid, down here you had dirt bomb fights. Well, in New York we had rock fights. And I got hit in the eye with a rock, and I was blind in one eye. Oh. I lost the vision in my eye when I was like 14 or 15 or something like that.
Huh. So I didn't know you couldn't see it.
A lot of people don't. Huh. But that stopped me from ever joining the military. Yeah. I couldn't pass a physical.
Yeah.
And you think it's no big deal being blind to one eye, and it's really not. But, any physical you can't pass. The military, police, firemen frown upon it.
Yeah.
Post office you would never, because you got to drive their vehicles. So I was very limited. Huh. So when Bobby hired me, I was going through the orientation, and after like 2 days, I told him, I said, hey, Mr. Tripp, I said, I'm going to have to come honest with you. I said, I'm blind in one eye. I said, I don't know if that's going to be any difference or not. Well, he went to the county administrator, a man by the name of Richard Crowdis, and Richard said, Bobby, it's up to you. He said, there's no issue, departmental, there's nothing in the SOPs about it. You decide what you want to do. And Bobby Tripp said, all right. He said, don't wreck my ambulance. So I passed his test, and like I said, things were different. I stayed part-time at Dougherty County for 2.5 years before I was able to get a full-time job. Now, back then, you were never going to get a full-time job unless you were a paramedic.
Yeah.
He wouldn't hire... Well, back then, it was EMTBs, cardiac techs, and paramedics. Those are the only 3 levels of EMTs there were: an EMTB, a cardiac tech, and a paramedic. The cardiac techs can do cardiac stuff, but they couldn't give breathing treatments. Huh. They couldn't give seizure medicine because it wasn't part of their scope of practice. As they can do cardiac stuff.
Yeah,
they
can't do anything else.
It was like they can transport, maybe stop bleeding and IVs and whatnot, but as far as medications, they couldn't do that. So that's why he only hired paramedics. I mean, some cardiac techs were grandfathered in.
Yeah.
So, but that was the end of the line when Bobby Tripp, he wouldn't hire a cardiac tech full time. Huh. So, after I got my EMTB license, I went to school and I got my paramedic. Back then, it was a certificate program.
Well, it was when I got mine too.
It was a certificate.
Yeah, I don't have a degree. I have a paramedic certificate.
Yeah, you didn't need a degree. You got a certificate.
Yeah.
Well, I got my certificate, and I was a little proud of my little certificate. But there again, I was bored at night, and I said, well, let me just start taking some core classes.
Yeah.
So I would take like one class a semester. Let me take an English class. Let me take my English 202. Let me take a math class. And slowly and surely, I got all my core out of the way. And before I knew it, I had an associate's in EMS. Huh. It was just one. And I tell people, it's just one class a semester.
Yeah.
If you're not doing anything and you just want something, because your core never leaves you in education.
Yeah.
Your core is your core. No matter what, if you want to go branch off anywhere, you're going to need your core. So it's not a waste of time and it's not a waste of money if you decide you want to do something else. So I got my associates in EMS. Didn't mean anything then. Probably doesn't mean anything now. It's just something that I had a little diploma. But what it did, it set me up because there again, I was kind of bored, and this the nursing bridge program came out at Darton College, and it was 1 day a week, and it went from paramedic to RN, 1 day a week for like, I think 5 semesters.
Yeah.
We started B term in October and graduated in December of the following year. So however many semesters that was. The only thing I needed for that, though, since I had all my core, was like microbiology and A&P 1 and 2, because they came with labs and they didn't transfer over. So back then, there again, nothing was online. I had to go in school.
Yeah.
I had to go into class for that. But once I got it, before I know it, I got my RN license and all the clinicals, and I got my RN. And then how life comes in the way of things. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to leave EMS because they knew I had some things going on with my wife at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to start a brand new job and say, hey, man, I need off this day. or I need to come in late this day or something. And Dougherty County, they bent over backwards. They understood what I went through, and I was extremely loyal to them.
Yeah.
And they were loyal to me, and I just never really made that jump because realistically, being a paramedic and being a nurse are two completely different jobs.
Yeah.
The only thing you have in common is a stethoscope and a blood pressure cuff, but they are not the same, nowhere even close. Just like, as you know, firemen and a paramedic or a fireman and an EMT is two completely different jobs. We both been firemen.
I think it might have been Clay Dale or somebody that went through and went to the bridge was like, yeah, I've learned about nursing in nursing school. It's a whole lot of damn charting. He's like, how to, paramedic school, we actually learn skills and did different stuff. Not to say nursing, they don't learn skills, but he's like, I'm learning all the different ways to chart and document.
He did. And Clay Dale.
I think it was Clay that said that.
Clay, I love Clay. Clay,
yeah.
He's over at the base now.
Yeah.
Him and Craig Collins and Josh Fralick, they all made the move to the base. But Clay, when I was a supervisor, when I made supervisor, and when I left Lee County, because I was a supervisor in Lee County, Clay, who was the assistant supervisor, became supervisor. And in 3 weeks, he quit. He said, I don't know how you did it. And he left to go to the base, of course, at the time. So I think it was a big plan to hit. Yeah, sooner or later to get to the base.
I think that's when I took over from him as assistant before all the merge and stuff. Before they merged, the fire.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think I took over. If I remember right, I think
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. A lot of grass has grown since then. But so I stayed at Dougherty County, and so I'm retired 10 days now.
It's funny talking about the difference in nurses and medics because working on the helicopter, I work with a nurse, and every now and then I'll have like a new nurse that doesn't have much experience in flight yet. She's kind of intern, and like we'll go on a scene, and I forget that they're working critical care in a helicopter, but they may have never been on a wreck scene or anything before. Mm-hmm. And we had a bad wreck one time, and it was something. I'm at home in an ambulance. I've spent my whole career on the back of an ambulance, absolutely, and stuff. And we were on a scene with a wreck, and they had to extricate him. And she's like, "I'm just taking all this in. There's so much going on. Like I've never been involved in this before." I was like, "Well, I guess you haven't. Like this is I don't ever it's second nature to us, and I don't think about it, like you're not inside four walls and you're having to work at it's a dynamic environment out there."
The whole nursing career is so much different than being a paramedic. Yeah, I mean it's not because I did try the nursing thing, very briefly, and it was I was working in the hospital EC, and it was like my first day, and they're like, well, you're gonna work with this nurse X, and they're gonna show you everything. Well, nurse X decides to get sick about 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, well, we're gonna have to come in. Look, you're gonna have rooms 1, 2, 3, and 4. I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. I said, that's right. You're a paramedic. Yes, you do. I said, no, I don't. And it just didn't work out well for me. I can just tell you that.
Look, I kind of know that about myself. I need to bridge just to have the RN, but I was like, I don't know how to do it in a hospital setting. I said, I don't know if I'd like that. I said, I've spent too many years out in the field. I said, I'm sure I do fine. I could do whatever, but I don't know if I really like being in the hospital per se. I mean, maybe the ER, but I don't even know how much I'd like that. Oncology, I liked those nurses when I was there.
They are.
But, they were super nice, super smart.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Like, it's like one of those things I probably just need to get it. But I'm just like, I don't really know if that's something I want to do, per se.
Well, the oncology department is jam up at BB, and I think, those nurses are a step above. They are they're very well trained, and they're very empathetic. Yeah. So oncology would be a good field. Yeah. But it's just a crazy thing now. The nurses, I feel bad for the nurses because they're so shorthanded. Mm-hmm. And the thing about a nurse, from what I've seen, is that, they'll hire you and they'll say, okay, let's say you're going to be on floor 6 and you got these rooms. And when they hire you, they'll tell you, well, Brad, you're the RN, so, you don't have to do any AM care, like feeding patients or shaving them or anything like that. And you don't have to do any PM care, getting them ready for bed, because we have CNAs to do all that. Yeah. You know, and you don't have to worry about vital signs unless there's an issue because the CNAs are going to do all that. Well, when you get up there, there's no CNAs. And now you have to do all that. And that's what really stresses these nurses out.
Yeah.
Because you can delegate, jobs, but you cannot delegate responsibility. You are still in charge of that. So this is where the whole stress comes in, and they're shorthanded. And the big thing is get them in, get them out. And as a nurse, you have to deal with the patient, the patient's family, the doctors, other nurses, nurse practitioners, and they have a very, very hard job, and they're extremely underpaid and overworked.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
That's my opinion.
No, I agree with you. That's part of me when I think about it like that. Like, I don't know how well I'll do with having that many people I have to interact with and deal with. I was like, I don't think I'd work well in that environment. Just me. I like just having one person deal with one patient and a partner
for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
We understand that, but the biggest thing with nursing, there is room for advancement.
Yeah,
there's a whole lot of room for advancement, unlike EMS, and that's where I fault EMS. If you could become a basic EMT and then you're going to be a paramedic. And then if you move up, normally you go to like an FT or field training officer.
Yeah.
And then from there, and I only really know about Dougherty County EMS. Other places are probably so much different, but I'm just talking as a Dougherty County, retired Dougherty County paramedic, is that, you can get your FTO, your field training officer job, which is a little bit more money. And then where do you go from there? You go to as assistant supervisor. Now, there's only 3 shifts. There's only 3 positions open, and these guys are young, or in those, so they're not going anywhere for 10 or 15 years. And then if you get that assistant's position, then you can possibly move into a supervisory role, which is only 3 of those in there, right? And those guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So you're pretty much stagnant.
Yeah.
But I can say that James Gibney, who's the director now, he's trying to implement a critical care paramedic. In Thad Nimick. Do you know Thad?
Yeah.
Thad. He's over there at Albany Technical College, and he's putting together they call it, I think, the CCP program, Critical Care Paramedic Program. That will give you more money and open things up. So they do realize there's a need for advancement, to keep people in the field and not stagnated, to give them more money and to give them, more options to do things. Yeah. So I'm all for that program, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I talked to Tony Nadjar a little bit about it, and I messaged James a couple times, which I know James from way back in the day. Me and him hung out. When he worked at the fire department in Albany, he worked with a buddy of mine that lived over at apartments and whatever. I know James from, I don't even know how long ago. Probably 15 years, something like that.
Boy,
I haven't talked to him in a while, but anyways, I know him from the way back when he was way young. But I was talking to him a little about that because I wouldn't mind doing some of that. And I was talking to him, I was like, I wouldn't mind, doing some of the night shift critical care stuff on the ambulance. Yeah. But I don't know. I kind of got a lot going on now. And talking with Tony, he's like, I think they still want you to pick up part-time 911 shifts. So I'm like, man, I don't want to come do 911 part-time. It's not that I'm against it. I was like, I already work enough. Well, I don't have to do more on-call and stuff.
He did change the part-time 911 schedule to I think, and this is the last I remember, because, he's only requiring 2 12-hour shifts a month.
Oh, okay.
Down from the original 12-hour shifts a month that was mandatory, that you had to give a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So... And that's what was attracting some more people. So you know what, Brad, 2 12, and you might not get called in.
Yeah,
it's something. To
it's
think
just
about.
An on call, or
it's an on call. You would give, Brandy, say, hey, I can be on call 1st and the 19th.
Yeah,
and you give it to him. You get those days, you get them. If not, you don't.
Yeah.
You're not held. You're not held to it.
I might revisit it. I thought about it, and I was like, man, I'm working enough as it is, and I kind of got my other stuff going on, and my little drone side business, and
right,
and so I haven't gone back to it, but I did talk to. Anyways, point being, I talked to Tony a little bit about it, and I'm glad they're doing that. Which I know will help out on alleviate some of the flights,
right?
Which I know we were flying into Phoebe a ton, which I know they're still flying in there, but it seems to have gone down a little bit, at least from my shifts I work.
Well, I think it's a good program. At one point, I thought Phoebe was paying a lot of the education, and I don't know if they're still. I don't know if you guys can get a grant. I don't know. I mean, the people who want to apply for it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. It's out of my scope of practice, and I knew, I sort of would like to take the class just to take, because I like going to school and I like to take classes. Would I ever use it? Absolutely not. But I just like, even the national, I took ever since I was a nationally registered paramedic, when they opened it up, I took the national registry test every year to recertify. Yeah. I never got the hours. I went in and I took the test. I always took the test.
I think you might be the only person I ever met.
I love taking tests, man. I really did. I loved going in cold. I would brush up on stuff like the AVPU scale, the APCOS, and the body surface area stuff. For the Parkland formula.
Yeah.
But other stuff, I just love walking in cold. And you just see knowing that my job wasn't dependent on it.
Yeah.
If I failed the test, then I'd go get the hours. But
yeah.
I always passed the test, like 80 questions in and out in about 30 minutes. I mean, I think the critical care paramedic would be a challenge. And I'd have to look and see what my budget is, because I think I would just like to.
I was always so leery of not passing it. Then I wasted that money to do my research, man. And then now I'm sure I wouldn't take it early. So then I probably have a few months before I have to get my hours up. And I know you can get the research stuff, but I was always
I know, but I just love love the challenge, But with that Georgia EMS Academy, you get 60 hours for $40. Everything's online. The whole program's there. You can register your national and your state at the same time. So if your job doesn't depend on it, like these kids coming out of school now, they have to pass the national test in order to get their state license. But then you can give up the national. Yeah. But
I got my national back to get my FPC, which I got my FPC in 2018. I'm about to have to recert it again.
What's the
the flight paramedic certification?
Okay.
So I got mine in 2018, and it's good for 4 years, but you have to have 100 critical care hours. Like ACLS and BLS and stuff like that doesn't count towards it.
Right.
So foam frat's pretty good for getting hours. Which Air Evac, we do a lot of our own LMS, online learning. We have a ton of that we do. So a lot of that will count towards it, but still you got to get 100 hours and put it towards that. So I got to check mine because it comes up. I think it's September of 26 is when I recert again for my FPC. But I need to start looking at that because it's not something. It'd be really hard to make up all those hours in a month or two. It's a lot.
Yeah,
I did it. I think when I was 6 or 8 months out, I started the last research cycle, and it was. Oh man, it took forever putting those hours in and listening.
Well, could you do the critical care paramedic? Would that be in lieu of the flight, or is that two separate?
They're separate. The IBSC, the International Board of Specialty Certificates, they do CCP, Critical Care Paramedic, FPC, Flight Paramedic, TPC, Tactical Paramedic Certification. But I know the CCP and FPC are basically the same test. The only difference being the CCP has more critical care questions. They have the same amount of questions, best of my understanding. But the FPC has the specific flight questions put in there too. And I've heard the FPC is a little bit easier because the critical care paramedic test is all critical care questions, where the FPC has some flight related questions.
But they're not into. You couldn't get your CCP and then work on a helicopter.
Yeah, you can.
You can. So you don't need the F. You got all these letters.
Yeah. Now I don't want to know if that. I don't know if that's changed. But I think if you had your CCP, it would suffice for a time. But I think ultimately you had to get your FPC, and I think that's how.
And I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
that does make sense.
And you can have them both. I've seen people, with all the letters beside their name patch, CCP, FPC, NRP, yada yada yada. They have a whole laundry list of letters. Beside it. I'm I guess you want to keep paying that.
Yeah, really. It's paying because those research costs money. I know that CCP test is I think someone said $400 or maybe.
Yeah.
I heard it was kind of expensive, and you don't want to fail it too many times.
No.
You want so.
I took. I studied for a long while on my own. I got a couple books, and then because I wasn't doing flight or anything when I got mine, but then I got. I think I went through under the IA Med like crash courses. Like back then it was in person. And so I think it was like a 4 or 5 day course. Mm-hmm. It was like 10 hours a day. Like, all right, we're going to cram all this information into you, which a lot of it I knew, but it was a ton of info. Because I was like, I don't want to fail this $385 test.
Yeah, that would be.
I'd rather invest, whatever it was. It might have been $500, $600, $700. I can't remember. Into this 4 day like refresher, basically. Well, not a refresher. It's kind of like a refresher, but it's crammed full. It was like 10 hours a day, and I took 70 pages of notes.
Wow!
And 4 days on my laptop. But yeah, I passed it first time. But
there you go.
I took a ton of practice tests. I just didn't want to. Because you fail it, and then you got to pay another $385.
Yeah,
like they don't give you a credit; it's the same amount every time.
I think that's the way the CCP is.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think I think the first class that went through, I almost thought I heard someone say that Phoebe had some money put aside and paid for all those guys' tuition.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Excuse me, and might even have paid for their test. I don't know if that's still true or not. I don't know but I think it's a good thing, and then you pretty take that anywhere. It's just a room for advancement, and they're trying to advance because that was been the biggest thing. But so many people now aren't staying in the field. I know, even just take Albany Fire Department, take the city of Albany. Period. They done away with their city pension this year.
What? There's no pension?
There's no city pension. I don't know what they'll do. Yeah, but they're not doing what they did.
So they have some kind of retirement. There's just no city.
They got maybe a deferred comp or a 401k. They may or may not match. I don't know. But as far as Dougherty County has a pension.
Yeah.
You have to be vested so many years, and then you're going to get some money. The city of Albany had that with the fire department, but now they done away with it as of July, and that's not a good recruiting thing.
No. So what do they do with the people that already that were vested? Do they still get it, or they roll it into something else?
They're still going to pay out.
Yeah.
But as far as as of July of this year when the new budget came in,
so anybody they hire now,
no pension. What they're trying to say is that the people nowadays aren't coming in and staying around long enough.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think
so. There's no reason to get there's no reason to get a pension. I mean. Dougherty County still offers it, but it's a third-party service. Dougherty County has nothing to do, the way I'm understanding it, and I'm learning as I go, is they'll tell you, hey, this guy had, so many years in.
Yeah.
And then you handle it. And then you got to deal with this company on the side. So the county, but I think the city took something like their last 5 years and had a golden pension plan that people were doing really well with, but they decided they're not going to do it.
That's disheartening. Yeah, I don't know. I was talking with Larry about that. My first podcast about because I've been off the ambulance a few years. I worked for a little bit still when I went on the helicopter, but I got so busy and stuff. I was like, I'm done with it's kind of fizzled out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I just wandered away. But it was funny too because I wouldn't work. I wouldn't work for 2 weeks or something. I'd get back on the ambulance, and I swear over the course of 6 months there, I could see the difference, the change, and even from that short time from when I kind of got off full time, and really I guess up to a year, the change, of, I don't know, just environment, personnel, and everything. I was like, this is already changing so much, which even from changed drastically from when I started in 08.
Right.
I think that's when I started Lee County.
08?
Yeah.
Were you eligible for a pension from Lee County? Do you
I cashed out. When I left, I
cashed out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I had in it, which I wouldn't put in much. But, Lee County, you had to put in a lot of America. I think I got back, I don't even remember what I cashed out. It wasn't much. I know I was vested because I was there 10 years. And
you cashed out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going to tell you, they did have a pension. I mean, you can't do anything until you're 60 years old to get it.
Yeah.
But when Bobby Watkins passed away, because poor guy was only retired 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He caught COVID, and then he passed away. And I always wondered. I said, what happened with his pension? His wife, because I was worried about if something was to happen to me, I wanted to make sure my wife was taken care of. So I called up Diane in Lee County, and she said, Pete, you never officially retired from Lee County, so if you pass away, your pension passes away with you. She got absolutely nothing.
Oh wow!
I said, "Is this?" She goes in. She said, retirement age is 65. She goes, but wait a second. she goes, you can retire early at the age of 60, and your pension, whatever you have, would be cut a lot.
Yeah, dramatically.
She said, but your wife would get something. And my whole thing was, taking care of her financially.
Yeah.
I said, well, let's do it, Diane. So I was going to say, at least when you're 60, you might be able to get something out of there.
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think I might have.
You don't?
I really have to go because I know I cashed out and I got a check from him. But I don't know.
Well then maybe because a lot of people cashed out.
Yeah,
a lot of people
because it wasn't going to be enough. Like when I retired, it was going to be because I never put anything in there. That was back before I really knew anything about investing anything to retirement. I'll be honest.
I know.
So it was whatever the county is putting in. So I think there's something minuscule in there. It's like 10 or 15 grand or something.
Right.
There wasn't anything. Which now I've got more. EVAC's pretty good with their retirement stuff and putting in. And just a few years I've been there, it's I've got drastically more than that in retirement. But and I've got older and wiser.
Well, you have a wife and 2 kids, and now you really got to watch out for them.
Yeah.
When I was, it was just me and my wife. We never had kids, so I was, I didn't plan well for my financial future, but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm going to say. I have a lot of good memories of things we did. And maybe I'm paying for it now. I'll worry about tomorrow. That's the way I'm looking.
And look, that's a problem I face, being like impulsive as I am sometimes. Like, man, I want to enjoy this with the kids now. But like, well, I need to save money, which actually is very good with money. So I'm blessed for that. I don't have a wife that's looking to spend a ton of money on stuff. Usually it's her curtailing me. You don't want to do some vacation or whatever, do something fun. Like every summer, I always want to get like the big inflatable slides here at the house.
Yeah.
And kind of have like a party. So like last year, I think we had 3, and like we'll split the cost usually with my sister-in-law.
Right.
And we'll do like a big kind of summer party here, have the slides for like 3 or 4 days. Like I just don't know.
My partner, when I left him, he has his side business. He does the slides.
Oh, yeah?
That's his side business.
I thought about that for a little while, but...
So he'll rent them to you is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He'll rent them to you. You don't have a problem renting them to people.
Yeah.
But, I'm not a very materialistic person. Seriously, it's kind of funny. You give you a few new harmonicas a year.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the harmonicas.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm golden. I'm good with that.
So have you always played the harmonicas? Or is that just something you got into when you're older?
No. I started 50 years ago. I started back.
Just self-taught?
Yeah. I started back when I was like, I picked it up. I probably was like 13 or 14 years old.
Did your dad or anybody play?
No, it's just something I wanted to do. And that was one of the things, like, times were different, but I would be like 16 years old and I'd go to Manhattan and I'd play on the side of the streets, with some busk for money and, just play for tips on Friday and Saturday nights. And, cause it was only a 20-minute train ride home. My mother knew nothing about that. She had no clue, but, so basically, what it did, it just taught me how to play different types, because you never know who you were playing with.
Yeah,
and it carried along, and so basically, when I moved here, I got into a band and we played. We opened up for the Kitchafuni Cowboys.
Yeah.
I heard them for a few.
Yeah.
They were a really good band. The guys I was with, I was with them. They weren't with me. I was with them. I was just of mine. I didn't really play any other instruments. I still don't. I'll pick up a guitar to accompany myself.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put a shout out to Bo Henry out there at the Harvest Moon, because he's kind enough. On Thursday nights, he plays out there every Thursday night with his little band called the Ketchup Bottles, and they are a phenomenal band.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll go up there and I'll say, "Hey, Bo, would you let me sit in with you on a couple of songs?" And he's never turned me down.
Pete, you have to let me know when you're going up there and do that.
One day,
because I know me and Ashley and even Adeline, they're probably like, "Yes, out there."
It's a hit and miss. I don't go out till late. The thing about Bo Henry Band, they don't start till like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So it's a late night.
Yeah.
But if you ever have a chance, even on Thursday night, if you and your wife are out and you have a babysitter, go out there. And it's a ragtag bunch of phenomenal musicians. And they don't just play country, they'll play everything, because that's what they'll take requests from people. It's a really nice atmosphere up there. And those guys, they're very well trained musicians. A lot of times I'm intimidated playing with them, but it works out, because they'll be like, Bo's very professional. He'd be like, "All right, we're gonna do this song." I'm like, "Bo, I never really heard it before." "Don't worry, it's in the key of E." And I'll be like, okay, E, I need the special harmonica for E songs, and I'll fill in when I can, and then he'll say, okay, we'll do one more, and this one's in, key of F. And I'm like, I'm never really familiar with that song. Just follow us. You'll pick it up. So, my training from being there in Greenwich Village in Manhattan set me up for playing this stuff.
So, like, how long were you doing that? Like, playing on the street in New York?
Well,
or like, how much did you do that?
What was that?
Like, how much did you do it? Like, I mean, did you do it for like a couple of years or like?
No, it was just a hit and miss thing.
Yeah.
On the weekends, for a few years. Not every weekend now, but it was just a fun thing to do.
So did you just slide out of the house, tell your mom you're going somewhere else or something?
We were always going. I was out, 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
Like I said, unfortunately, she was a single mom, and, as long as I was home at a decent hour.
Yeah. So you're kind of like a latchkey kid there at that point, or?
I don't know about with latchkey.
Like you just got a key to the house, kind of come and go, like as you please.
Yeah. But, I was a good kid.
Yeah.
I knew right from wrong, and I took care of my mother.
Yeah.
And I took care of her until, she died at Palmyra Nursing Home. She was 89 years old, 2 weeks before her 90th birthday. And she was there 9 years, and I think the average time for a nursing home patient is like 5.
Yeah.
If that long.
I was about to say, I'm kind of surprised at 5, to be honest.
Yeah. She was there for 9 years, and she was a diabetic, and but I'd come in there with she loved double cheeseburgers and chocolate shakes. I'd give it to her, and the nurse would come in there and she'd be like,
cussing.
She can't eat that. She's a diabetic. I'm like, she's 88 years old. I said, do you have insulin? She goes, well, yes. I said, well, give her more. So was I right? Was I wrong? Who knows? But she was happy. And that's all that mattered.
Did she become like type 2 or like type 1 later in life, or was she always diabetic?
Well, no. Well, she got it at an older age.
Yeah.
So I was at type 2.
Yeah.
I would say she wasn't juvenile diabetic. And I think diabetes runs in the family. So, you got to keep an eye on this.
Yeah, my dad was type 2. Well, he never. Well, I guess he came type 1 later on, but he was a big fella. I mean, my dad, which I don't know if he's in that picture behind me. Well, yeah. See that picture behind me, the guy in the center, big guy?
Yeah.
That's my dad.
He takes up a lot of real estate, doesn't he?
Yeah. Like that right there, he's probably 6'3", 6'4", like 350.
Wow.
Like he had, you talk about like somebody has like banana hands. That was my dad. Like if he shook your hand, like it enveloped your hand. Like his fingers, I swear, were like that big around. Like he worked labor all his life, construction and cabinets.
Tough guy.
So he had, had to get the carpal tunnel syndrome snips later in life from just building up those wrist ligaments.
Really?
Hands started going numb. I remember being a kid and him slapping tables and stuff. Like, what are you doing, Dad? He's like, my hand's going numb. And he had to get those tendons snipped to release the pressure because they're cutting off blood flow. But yeah, he had the banana hands. I always remember thinking like, I would never want to get punched by my dad because them hands got to weigh like 5 pounds a piece. Like them, I felt like them fingers. His fingers were literally like banana. Like they were huge. I don't know what size ring he wore, but it had to be like a 20 or something. Like it was massive.
I remember Kenny North.
Yeah, like Kenny's hands. Yeah, probably bigger.
I hated shaking his hand.
Yeah.
He'd crush my hand. He would literally, I'm like, Kenny, I can't shake.
And you felt like a little kid. You're like, oh, hi, sir. I'll shake your hand.
He crushed my hand. I'm like, no more, Kenny. I can't shake your hand.
That was like my dad's hands. But, he was massive. He was a big country. And his brother was just as big. Well, his brother was like 6'2", but they were... but anyways, he was big his whole life. And I got a picture of his, I think it's up on my wall in the house, of his 14-year-old baseball picture. He looks like a coach. He's like 6'2", like 230.
Man, so
at 14. He's
been big his whole life.
I thought he was a coach in the back. I remember when you showed me that picture, and I found it after his death. I was like, where you at? He's like, that's me in the back. I was like, I thought that was a coach. He's just as big as the coaches, like bigger than one, and he's 14. So obviously, he was recruited for football, which led to a lot of his knee problems. But yeah, he was.
Did he play football?
Yeah.
Is that what he did?
Mm-hmm. And he went, and then baseball, and he played in the minor leagues for like a year until he threw his back out. But yeah, and my grandfather played for the Atlanta Crackers.
Really?
For a short time, but then he went back to. They weren't paying enough, and he had a family to take care of. So yeah, he was a pitcher, and so I was like third generation baseball player. But I got out. I played college 1 year, Last 2 hits I had were in a region tournament. I had a ground rule double and a home run.
There you go, man. How great was that?
Yeah, and then I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. Much to probably my dad's dismay.
Man, well,
but yeah,
you know, you at least had the experience.
Yeah.
I never played any organized ball, and
I played a ton of baseball. I never really played much else. I tried football one year. I think when I was, I might have been like 12 or something. It was right around those early teenage years when, like, you know, everybody's, you know, kind of getting, like, football was always a big thing. And I was like, I want to try football. And my dad didn't want me to because he had multiple knee surgeries, back problems, all from, you know, football in the 60s, which was, I'm sure, very rough.
Yes.
Yeah, you just played.
Yep.
And so he didn't want me to do it because he didn't want me to have all the health problems he had later on in life. And so I did it 1 year, and I remember they put me on defense, and I was a tackle. But then I was really aggressive. They put me in nose tackle. And, like, I didn't know anything about football. First year I played, they're like, just get the guy with the football. Go after the quarterback. I was like, easy enough. Easy, you know, instructions. And I was busting through, sacking people. And I remember this one game, I think I got the quarterback twice. And then they started double teaming me because they didn't want me getting through.
Absolutely.
And I got so frustrated that I couldn't get through to get the quarterback. And then I think they did like an end around or something with running back. And I was about to get him, and somebody tackled me. And then he had hold of my legs, and I stood back up, and he wouldn't let go of my foot. And I was like, let go. And I didn't understand it, so I kicked him in the face and kicked him in the helmet, and my foot went through and broke his nose. Like, I was just frustrated because I didn't understand the game. I was like, let me go. You don't have the ball. Like, what are you doing? Like, he tackled me to keep me from getting the...
Man.
And I didn't understand. I played 1 year, but I was pretty good tackle, but I didn't understand it. I was frustrated with it all because I didn't understand the game.
You know, there's a lot of rules, and it's a funny story. Is that my last few years I was partners with Mark Robinson.
Yeah,
you know Mark Robinson.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I tell you, he could be if he wasn't a paramedic, he could have been a ESPN sports announcer.
Oh yeah.
He knows everything about, like, every sport, every player, what college they went to, you know. So we'd come to work, and he'd be like, Pete, there's a great football game on tonight. Whoever it was, you know, and he'd hype me up all day long.
Yeah.
So the game would come on, and I'd be asking him, what's offensive pass interference? What's this? Why is he doing this? Why does he get 10 yards and somebody else gets 5 yards? Why is he'd be, you know what, Pete? I think I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. And what he was doing, he'd rather watch his television on his phone than answer all my questions, man. I do the same thing with basketball. Why are they calling it a field goal if it's only 2 points, but a 3-point shot's 3 points? A field goal's 3 points in football, but, you know, it's like, man, I'm going to bed.
I grew up watching, my dad would always be watching sports growing up, you know, the Braves down here and the Falcons, Georgia Bulldogs, Georgia Tech. You know, we always watch sports, and I understood it enough, but I didn't understand, you know, like the penalties, holding. Older, you know, as I got older, I understood it, but we always grew up watching football, you know.
Yeah, I never played organized sports, but my father took me to a lot of Yankee games at Yankee Stadium.
That's what I was going to ask you if you went there.
Yeah, I was
the old Yankee Stadium.
Oh, this is when they had the tombstones in the back. Yes, the house that Ruth built.
Yeah,
you know, they've been through, I think, 2 renovations since then.
Yeah,
and I haven't been to a Yankee game since, but I remember those days
when it had the short right field porch. Wasn't it right field?
I think it was right field.
That was real short. Yeah.
Well, back then, you know, my father was a World War II veteran. You know,
oh, really?
He was there in World War II. I think he was 3 days into Normandy after they had the big thing. He was there on the 3rd day. He wasn't there for the first wave. And he done, and my nephew's doing a lot of research. He's getting his, I think it's called the DD-214.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting that together. But, you know, I know Italy, Africa, France. He done a lot of that stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is back then at baseball games, when a relief pitcher came in, they didn't run in from the outfield. They would be drove in on a car. And my father would get so mad because they had a Toyota. And he was like, how in the world can they get Toyota? Because this, you know, you're only talking about 15, 20 years, post World War II, you know, ended whatever year it was. So this was in 67, 68. He would get so upset that they brought a Japanese-made car.
Oh, my dad would never buy a foreign car growing up. It was always, he was a Chevrolet man, you know, and he loved watching NASCAR. you know, and it was Chevrolet. All he ever drove when we grew up were Chevrolets, GM vehicles. You know, now I got a Ford Crown Vic.
Yeah, I'm driving a Camry. Yeah, I know. But we grew up with, I think it was a 57 Chevrolet. That's all we had as kids. Every kid's parent had a 57 Chevrolet, a 4-door for the family car.
Mm-hmm. And I got his truck. Last truck he had out there was that 82 K10 Chevrolet that I need to finish. I mean, it's pretty much rebuilt. But when I was messing with the carburetor trying to get back running, it had a fuel leak I didn't know, and I caught it on fire. And I burned a bunch of wires up. About burnt down my little boathouse right there because I had it sitting on the concrete right there, and it caught fire when I was cranking it and had it running and had a fuel leak. And I was out there. Fire extinguishers, use up 2 fire extinguishers I had, and I was just using a water hose to keep the flames down.
How much damage?
It really just burned up the wires, and it messed up that car. But luckily, he had I have another car, but his carburetor because it was an 82 K10, so it's a 4-wheel drive. But he was drag racing at one point, so he took the transfer case out, made it 2-wheel drive to make it lighter. And so it's got a built motor in it. I mean, it sounds nice. Full 3-inch
size engine.
It's a built 350.
Oh boy!
Mm-hmm. So it started off as a 300 horse motor, but it's ported heads. And I mean, last I asked him, he said it's probably 400, 450, which is small potatoes now. But that truck also, you know, doesn't weigh anything in comparison to new vehicles. It'll boogie. And anyways, he had a race car that he would put on a drag race, and it's just like a Holly double pumper. Like 650, and it drinks gas. But and even I was talking to my sister about it after I burned it up because I was so depressed. I really haven't worked on it too much since then because I hate wiring, and it made me sad because I did a ton of work on it and it caught on fire. It didn't do any paint damage, just all underhood wiring.
Right.
You know, I had to place the distributor, melted it, and all the plug wires, and I have it all replaced. And I got it cranked since then, but I got to finish up some wiring. It's just I don't know. It's like depressing to me because I did that. And now I have to go back and redo the stuff that I already fixed.
Well, I know my truck, that 78 Ford, hates anything below 60 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, it does not like 60 degrees. Anything below. It just runs awfully. It just takes forever to warm up because there's no 306 cylinder in it, you know, inline 6. It was actually, when it was built, it was a highly optioned truck. It has factory air conditioning, power steering, power brakes, AM, FM stereo. I mean, it had a lot of automatic. Yeah. It has the big C6 transmission in it, which can pull. It can pull a lot of stuff. But I baby it now. The part is it's a labor of love putting it back together. And you know, parts are hard. Like we talk, parts are hard to find, and junkyards they're just not there anymore.
I've got a bunch of parts I need to put back on that one. Like I got another transfer case. I'm gonna put it back full drive, and I got drive shafts, and you know I got brand new tires and stuff on it. And it's got some rust, but I'm not too worried about that. But it's just one of those things I gotta do. But that's a Scottsdale, so it's like a bare bones model. Like it's manual windows, manual locks, which I'm not upset about. I mean, but
mine's basically that too. My bed is rotting out. I mean, it's rusting out.
Yeah.
I got a bed liner in it, but you know, I'm not going to put a whole lot into it. It's good for what I need it for it to do, but sooner or later, someone's going to total it. I just know it.
Yeah.
Someone's going to run a light or do something. It's going to be gone. So I don't want to put too much money into it.
Yeah, the only thing really wrong with that one is it's got the typical Chevrolet rocker panel rot. Mm-hmm. And if I ever found a good cab, I'd probably swap cabs on it. But the bed's all right. It's got very, very minimal rust. But it's mainly just typical Chevrolet rocker panel rust. I'm like, whatever. But I keep it under that awning back there, so it's at least it's out of the rain.
No, mine's out in the open, and you know, as a matter of fact, just about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I took the bed liner off, took the toolbox off, and just seen how bad it is.
Yeah,
and boy, it's not pretty. They make replacement parts I can put on if I wanted to cut them out, but I don't know how to weld.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just going to use some flex tape.
Well, that's what, I was talking to a buddy of mine because I can do everything but weld. I'm pretty good mechanically. I mean, I wouldn't trust myself to like rebuild an engine, but like, manual transmissions and basic stuff that's just like replacing gears and stuff like that I can do. I could do like rear axle gears, but I don't like trying to set them. Like,
I heard there's a way to do it in a way. You'll ruin it if you don't.
I'd rather pay somebody else that's done it a million times than me trying to do it.
Well, you were big on the mud bogging with
the 4-wheelers.
Are you still doing that? The big snorkels. I remember you showing me pictures of that videos. I'm like, you have lost your mind.
That was pre-kid days.
Was that pre-kid days?
Yeah. Now they got kids. Now they have children.
I'll never forget. You were like floating in that stuff on one knee.
Oh yeah, I was building all of those. I rebuilt several, many 4-wheeler motors and transmissions and differentials, and I rebuilt all of that. So
I remember you saying that. It was pretty impressive that what you were taking those things through. I was like, I would never. I don't like getting dirty like that.
Yeah.
First. Oh
yeah, we get completely nasty. I don't do it now. But yeah. Oh, back to the panels. Like I was asking a welder buddy of mine about replacing, rocker panels because they make, like all of these replacement panels, just like your Ford for that one. But he's like, man, the thing is, if you don't have somebody do it right, like you can tweak it and then like your doors won't shut right. He's like, you have to have it done like well. And I'm like, like, I don't know. I'll probably just try to find a good shaped cab. And then that thing has minimal wiring. Right. Like really you can take the,
and now even more.
Yeah. I was like, you can just slide the bed off. It's like whatever 4 or 6 bolts hold the bed on.
Yeah.
And there's the only wiring on it is the tail lights. And so you take the taillights out, pull the wiring down. You can get a few buddies and just walk the bed off, and then you undo the cab, which is minimal wiring. Take the doors off, which are probably one of the heaviest parts, and then you just walk the cab off and walk another cab on.
I think that's all there is to it. I was looking at mine, but mine were rotted with the bolts hold the cab on, not the cab, but the bed on.
Yeah.
Like, boy, this really looks bad. It really needs some attention, and I don't know how far I'm going to go with it because I know I'm never going to find another bed for probably under $1,000, and it's not going to be It's original the way it was. I try to keep it totally original.
Yeah.
But I know, the problem, even your truck, it gets hit, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's, $200 what they want at the junkyard, and that's
what
I
know.
Get for it.
That would worry me whenever we get back on the road.
That's
that
what,
happening.
Once, the way cars are now, once the airbags pop.
Oh, yeah.
$3,500 on no matter what else is wrong with the vehicle, count on $3,500 to reset the airbags. That's not paint, bodywork, parts, or anything else. So I know my truck, one hit, they'll give me maybe $300 for it.
Yeah.
And take it to the junkyard.
Well, that's like even my old Crown Vic out there, my cop car. It's only got 108,000 miles on it. It doesn't have many for a cop car.
No.
But, and it's in really good shape. But I do the same thing. Like if I hit something in the front and it pops both those airbags, I'm like, this car's definitely not worth it. This car's only worth $2,000 or something.
Done.
And I like my Crown Vic. It runs great. And, but it's the same thing. Like airbags pop. Yeah.
That's the scary part. Same thing with my Mustang. My Mustang only had, it was a mint, condition. It only had 70,000 miles on it.
Man.
But I know if someone hit it, $3,500 is going for the airbags, and then just say goodbye to it.
Yeah.
Because it's a 20-year-old vehicle. They don't care how many miles are on it. They don't care if it's a GT or if it's a convertible. They just know that it's 20 years old and goodbye.
Yeah.
So some of this old stuff, it's nice to have, but just know the money you put into it is going to go away sooner or later, especially driving around Albany. On a Friday.
Yeah, for real. Well, how was young Pete? I know you said you were a good kid, which doesn't surprise me. I was kind of curious about that, if Pete was wild or if Pete was like a good kid.
No wild than anybody else.
Yeah.
You grew up in a different environment. I came at the tail end. So, when you really think I was born in 1960, so
yeah,
I could.
So you were all the 70s kid,
right?
70s in New York, that had to be wild.
The 70s, but it was on the backside of the 60s.
Yeah,
and that's what my sister Marie, my wild child sister, she gave me all her albums, which is, the Beatles and the Who, and, all these great rock bands. But I can remember, you got to remember, Vietnam was really big.
Mm-hmm.
The civil rights movement was really big. I could remember bombings at, hear it on the radio at the United Nations building in Manhattan, every week.
Oh, wow.
I'd wake up. My mother loved country music, and she used to listen to WCMS, which stood for Country Music Station.
So loving country music in New York. Was she originally from New York?
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have thought country music was big in New York in the
My
60s.
mother, it had WCMS was the radio station. She loved Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And she loved Glenn Campbell. But in the mornings, I'd get up and she'd have the radio on, and you would hear every morning heavy fighting in Cambodia, 3 GIs killed, 6 missing, 13 wounded, 14 South Vietnamese shot, or every day it was just so much going on, and the protesters came out. And people were burning their draft cards,
Yeah.
Back then, if you volunteered to join the Army, you went for 2 years. If you were drafted, you got 4 years.
Yeah.
So that was the trade-off.
Yeah.
Draft or volunteer, So if you got drafted, which was the lottery thing, you went away for 4 years. But if you just signed up. So my brother-in-law, he was in there, and he said, but he volunteered because he didn't want to do 4 years.
Yeah.
And he said when they lined them all up, he said the commanding officer came out and said, you know what? Because he joined the Army. He said, we don't have enough Marines. So he said he went down the line, every third person, you're a Marine, you're a Marine, you're a Marine, Now, my brother was not a Marine, my brother-in-law, but he missed it. But he said that's just the way it was. But, it was, and then it was just such a hard time. And you think of all the music that came out of the 60s.
Yeah.
Which, a lot of it were protest songs.
Yeah.
And, a lot of protest artists made a lot of money doing protest stuff. Bob Dylan, was one that he came out as a folk artist. Done a lot of protest song. He never called himself a protest singer, but everyone else did. And then he changed from folk to rock and roll, and just the country went wild at that time. I don't know if you're familiar with this story.
Well, roughly. I mean,
he changed actually the music basically because he was such a great big influence on the folk artists. Everyone said he was a folk artist, and then he went to the Newport Folk Festival with an electric band, and it didn't go over well. But he changed. But then, when I would come up, as I was starting to get older, 12, 13 years old, you had the end of the 60s, the beginning of the 70s, and the 70s music, and then you went straight into, the music of the big hair bands and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then you went into at the end of the 70s was disco.
Yeah.
My goodness. John Travolta, disco staying alive. Yeah, I've cut a rug, man. Lighted disco floors.
Yeah, I used to hear about all that.
Studio 54 out, and we never got in there. We tried. They just wouldn't. They'd pick people to go in there.
Yeah.
We never made it in there.
Yeah, I always heard the stories about disco in New York.
Yes. It was huge, man. Now you had roller disco, too. You'd have rollerblades. So it was pretty good. So and then at the end of the 70s, the punk rock people came in. Punk rock at the end of the 70s. At the end of the 80s. So it was just crazy time.
My dad used to talk about, he grew up country. He grew up above Atlanta, but before it was built up, he used to talk about going out hunting on the way home from school and stuff. He would take a shotgun home from school or to school and would walk home from school and shoot rabbits or quail or whatever to take home and eat that night. And he used to talk about my mom. My mom originally came from Chicago. She moved to Chamblee. Well, my dad grew up in Chamblee, but I don't know if I think she moved to Roswell. And he met her and her brother, my Uncle Gary, who I've actually never met, but he was all into disco because my dad was born in 50, and I think he met my mom when she was 18 and he was 20. I think because they moved down to Georgia right after she graduated high school. And he said her brother Gary was all into disco. He had a leisure suit, and he was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" Because he's country. He's like, "No, I was never into that." I think the most disco he ever got was probably it's not even disco, listen John Denver, and I remember I found an 8-track pack, a box of 8 tracks in our old house, and it had some Barbra Streisand, John Denver and Gordon Lightfoot. But that's about as much as he got into it. He's like, I never had a leisure suit or anything. Well, I was always just country. He had old Merle Haggard 8 tracks and all that as you'd expect. But
disco took over so much. Even the Rolling Stones come out with that, "Miss You" and all the other stuff. It was all had a beat to it.
Yeah,
Rod Stewart. I mean, it was just crazy. It just took off so much for the few years. Then Staying Alive movie.
So how much culture shock was it when you went from New York to Virginia and then down to here? I had to think there was a lot back then.
It going from New York to Virginia was not bad because I was I felt very confined in New York, even though I was young.
Yeah.
I was 10 minutes from the beach in Virginia, so it was just wide open, and I was doing construction work. I was living the life, doing construction work during the day. And, I went to school. I went to Old Dominion University. I thought I took business management classes, which was boring, man. It
Yeah.
didn't last long. And then, so I done the construction thing. I done the heating and air conditioning, refrigeration route. So I done that for like 10 years. So when I got down here to Georgia, I had a lot of that type of background, which was able to give me the job for Merry Acres. But you actually, if my mother was born in New York,
Yeah.
what it was that my grandmother and grandfather on my father's side came over on the boat from Italy.
Ah.
And my grandfather on my mother's side came over from the boat. They were the original. You know, I know it's a derogatory term for Italians. They were called WOPs.
Yeah.
WOPs really mean without papers.
Huh.
That's all the WOP
I never knew
stands
that.
for.
I never knew that.
They just stand. So anyone could have been a WOP at the time.
Yeah.
Irish people, anyone came over and you didn't have the papers, you were a WOP. So when, like, my grandfather came over, he couldn't speak English, and they didn't know how to pronounce his name, so they said, Radano. You're a Radano. And that's how my name got out as Radano, because they couldn't understand him.
Huh.
You know? So
Yeah.
if you do, like, Ancestry.com, it ends at Ellis Island in New York. I mean, that's it. And they ended up in Manhattan. My grandfather used to string nets across the buildings to catch pigeons
Ah.
to eat, just not like, you know, your family coming home from school to hunt
Yeah.
and bring food home to eat. They used to eat pigeons. They were poor. Back then, you know, they didn't have like refrigerators. They had ice boxes.
Yeah.
True original ice box, and that was his job. He'd sell ice, blocks of ice to people.
Huh.
To you know, had to do what they had to do.
I did went down to Ancestry rabbit hole. Oh man, it's probably a few years ago, or more than that. But there's evidently a lot of Gants, and I tracked it down to the first Gant that came over in 1615, and his name was Thomas Gant. And it's funny because my middle name's Thomas,
Really?
but he was a doctor, and he came over from Rowley Regis, England, and I traced the Gant back over to Rowley Regis, and I was going to have to pay for like European ancestry, which is a lot, like Ancestry.com. But I did trace my name, which I thought was English, is actually French, because the Gant name got started in England after the Battle of Hastings in 1066, when evidently some relative of mine who was French, his name was Gaunt, Gaunt, and he stayed in France. I guess he found him a lady or whatever. I don't know. And then it became Gant, Ganttt.
It just changed it.
And then so for whatever 600 years, and I guess there's probably still some Gants over there for all as I know. But yeah, 1615 was the first Gant that came over, and I actually found through Ancestry.com a book called Colonial Families of the U.S., and Thomas Gant has a couple pages in it, and I bought the book and I got it in the house.
Really?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, when I was doing it, like it looked like Thomas Gant, when I was doing the Ancestry.com thing, it looked like Thomas Gant was like 130 years old, and I was like, this isn't making sense. Then I figured it out. There was like 4 Thomas Gants in a row. Like, you know, they kept the name Thomas Gant Jr., Senior, so
Right.
like those records that old, like I guess the 3rd, 4th, whatever got dropped. So it looked like an Ancestry, and I had to splice this all out between other people's records that you can access. But yeah, it was like 4 Thomas Gants. And like you can go sideways way far, like, because everybody had, you know, 8, 9, 10 kids. Like I gave up on trying to go like sideways on the tree because it was just so extensive. Like, and I have now Ancestry.com.
I guess that's with like the 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah,
somewhere, somehow, everyone is related somewhere.
Like I got
somebody.
There's like a picture document that showed of like where's like the War 1812. There's like a Gant signed on it. One of my direct relatives who was like from South Carolina. You could see like
You're
the gradual.
Royalty. You didn't know you were royalty,
Yeah.
man.
You could see like the gradual merge or migration of Gants from, because they came over into, I think it was Virginia, and then you could see like I got more and more Gants gradually going south. You know, it's like South Carolina. Then I got
That's
to Georgia.
crazy, man. That's
So yeah,
crazy.
I spent way too much time on it, and I like gave up because it's taking up so much time researching it. Now, since I did so much on Ancestry, I have requests all the time. Like I'll get a notification email. They want to access your tree, like the research you've done, because you know it goes all the way back 400 years now. All the research I did. So I guess there's all these other people
trying to tap into your research.
because my tree goes
So you would
everywhere.
save them some time, basically.
And I like it. I'll just allow them. Yeah,
Really,
And
that's good.
And so it's crazy. Like I gave up going sideways. It was. I'm indirectly, I had relatives who signed the Declaration of Independence. I don't remember his name, but I'd have to go back to my research. It's not one of the main signers, but one of the guys who signed it. It was like, I'm going to get this wrong, but it's like it was like a niece of one of my direct relatives was married to that guy's son or something like that. So, and like I tracked that down. I went sideways a little bit around that time. And so like I had like a, whatever, I guess 2 degrees of separation or something from a signer. I guess they maybe met at a family gathering or something, probably like, hey, you signed the Declaration of Independence. But yeah, like it wouldn't, you can go down a wormhole. But my mom, I went on my mom's side, but it's harder to track her because the surname, gets changed. Mm-hmm. But I was only to chase her back to like West Virginia in like the 1800s on my mom's side.
Well, I think my sister done whatever she can. She said that what happened when they came on the boat,
yeah,
they didn't know what his real last name was. And they said, well, it sounds like he said Radano.
Yeah.
It could be Raganado. Who knows?
Yeah.
I just know they came from, I think, Naples.
Yeah.
Naples, Italy is where they were from. But that's about all,
Well, the coolest thing I found out through Ancestry and doing like my DNA test and everything was I have a first cousin that I didn't know about. And what we've determined, because he hit me up and was like, you got a first cousin match? I was like, I don't know who this is, first cousin. It is, my dad had 2 sisters and a brother. His younger sister passed away. She was 2 years younger than him. She passed away at like 18. But his older sister, Sarah, God, I'm trying to remember. Because I met Sarah too, but she passed away when I was probably like 10. I think she was the oldest. And I know Larry was 10 years older than my dad, my dad's older brother. I can't remember how much older Sarah was. I think she might have been like 7 or 8. I think Larry was oldest. But at 15, she got pregnant. And my dad, I don't think he ever knew this because I found all this out after my dad passed in 2016. Uh-huh. But she evidently was pregnant and had a baby at Grady in, I'm going to mess up his birthday year. It was like 1958. And this guy's my first cousin. And he was adopted and never knew, but he did all the research through Ancestry, and he is my first cousin. And we determined that it was my Aunt Sarah.
Is that right?
I gave the baby up for adoption when she was 15. And so, like, family secrets, I guess you never knew. And I kind of wanted to ask my dad, but I don't think he would have known, because I think when I did the math, he was only been like 7 or 8, and he probably
wouldn't have been aware of that.
But I'm sure he never knew, because I don't know any reason he wouldn't have told me, like, if he would have known that, But I wish he would have been alive to ask him. But yeah, I found all that out through Ancestry. I have first cousin. He's on my Facebook. His name's Bruce.
Really? Have you ever met him?
I've met him in person. Uh-huh. But yeah, we have a tremendous age gap. I was born in 82, and he was born, I think it was 58, at Grady in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
he's a young man.
Yeah.
He's a young guy.
But it was pretty interesting to find that out. And every now and then I'll have a DNA match, and I'll look at it and be like, oh, I guess the person is your third cousin. I'm like, man. Not really close enough for me to think interest. And I have quite a few of those. But yeah, that Ancestry, man, if you can get out a wormhole, like if you've, I guess, been in the U.S. for a long time, like my family, man, it went on forever. I could probably do months and months and months of more research. But it takes up so much time, like doing all that.
Well, my mother and father were both like first generation Italians here, so I'm second generation Italian.
Now, do you know any Italian? Did they teach you any?
No, my mother said, you're an American, you're going to learn English.
Yeah.
Now, they would talk to each other in Italian when they didn't want us to know what's going on. But they never taught us. We never spoke Italian. We kids never spoke Italian in the house.
Well, see, that's like my brother-in-law, his mom is Panamanian, and is his dad Panamanian? They could probably be mad at me. I don't remember this, but I know his mom's Panamanian. So his mom, from best of my understanding, I've never met her. It's kind of broken English. She speaks good enough English now, but when she didn't speak any English. And so, but he didn't learn Spanish, not enough. And I was like, why didn't you learn another language? He's like, when I grew up. He's like, you weren't going to speak Spanish around in South Georgia. He's like, I wasn't going to school. I wouldn't want to have any kind of Spanish accent. Kind of same thing.
Sure.
He's like, I didn't. He's like, no. and I think he knows a little bit enough. But I was like, man, that's such an easy skill to pass along to your children. But he's like, man, I wouldn't have thought.
I would love to learn. I took it, in high school, like everyone else. But I would love to learn to speak fluent Spanish. And I think the only way to really do it is to work in a Mexican restaurant or something, because you have to be around it. Yeah. Because they speak a different dialect than what's taught in schools. They speak, where you could actually, I guess, slang. You would know all the slang and stuff. Yeah. That's the only way to do it, though, is to be around a bunch of Spanish people and immerse yourself in it. Because I don't think you're going to learn on Babbel.com or any of these other ones. I don't think that's worth your money.
It was funny you say that, because I worked with a flight nurse, and he's from Texas, and he's Spanish, and but his dialect or whatever, that he can speak it. I remember we had a patient, Spanish speaking. I was like, man, you want to talk to him? I was like, I don't know what he's saying. That person didn't speak any English at all. And they were saying something, and it was like whatever term, like slang or whatever, was different from like El Paso region and stuff that he's from. Like that person was from a different, I guess, area of Mexico. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, it's just dialect. He was explaining to me, because he was saying something. I could see like a slightly confused look on his face. I was like, what's going on? And he's like, they were saying this, but I know they're meaning this, but it's just like whatever the accent and dialect and the area they're from.
Different dialect. Yeah. So, just because you know Spanish and one thing you don't know, you'll pick up, I guess, the gist of it. Yeah. Now, from taking it in high school, it sounds funny. It's like I can read and pick up the gist of it, and I can listen if they speak slowly and pick up the gist of it. Yeah. But as far as to speak it, more than hi, how are you, what's your name, your birthday, where do you hurt, the stuff that we need to know in the field, is one thing. But to speak fluent Spanish.
Yeah, I know enough to ask some questions, but then somebody starts speaking really fast. I'm like,
forget it, pequeño, little bit.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah. Now, do your sisters, they know any Italian or anything?
Not that I know of. Nope. Huh. No, we were brought up to speak English, and you're an American, and you speak English. So
now, was your dad Italian too?
Yep, he was Italian,
and so
they all came over on the boat except my grandmother on my mother's side. So like my grandfather and grandmother, like I said, on my father's side came over on the boat,
and your mother's side,
and my mother's side was the grandfather came over. So
and all into New York. They're both, your mom and dad, both originally from New York.
Oh yeah. They were, everyone was from New York. That's, Yeah. And then, as my father, I guess, got back from the war, we moved out to the suburbs, which was Queens. Yeah. Got out of the city and moved to Queens in a place called Jackson Heights. Yeah. And that's where, we grew up, in Jackson Heights, Queens. But even now, even my mother's sisters all moved, everyone moved out of the city into, I guess that was the American dream, is to get out of the city into the suburbs. Where, but it was kind of funny, like in New York, the housing prices are crazy, but you have what people don't understand, like if you buy a house or you get someplace, you have like a one fare zone or a two fare zone, because everyone, pretty much the big money's in the city. Yeah. The big money, or your stockbrokers, all your stuff. So if you buy your house, you want to know if you're in a one fare or a two fare zone, and that means like when I'd go to the city, I'd walk 8 blocks to a bus stop, or I'd take a bus, and the bus would take me to the train station. So I had to pay a bus fare and a train fare. Oh. That's a 2-fare zone. Oh. A 1-fare zone is when you live close enough to a train station or a bus station where you can just take a bus into the city.
Huh. I never knew that. Never heard that.
So your houses are way more expensive in a 1-fare zone than a 2-fare zone. And then you trying to drive your car to a 1-fare zone to get parking, you just can't do it. So that's how the housing was. That's the difference living in the suburbs. So, you either walk to the train station or you took a bus to the train station. So
that's interesting. I never knew that. Never heard that before.
Yeah, that's called the difference between a 1-fare and a 2-fare zone. So, but everything's changed up there so much. Yeah, I could. My one sister lives on Long Island. My other sister lives up in the mountains. So, when I go up there, I either, they pick me up at the airport, and I either go to Long Island for a few days, and then I go to the mountain for a few days, or I go to the mountains for a few days, or to Long Island for a few days. But we always do at least one day in Manhattan, just walking around Manhattan. We always do a day trip.
So is your sister living up there in the mountains? I hear about, because I listen to some of the outdoor podcasts. Does she live up there where all the black bears and stuff are?
Well, there's bears up there. She lives in Mayapack.
Yeah.
There is bears up there, and
not overrun like New Jersey.
I don't think so. I hope not. I heard Jersey's got a lot of bears.
Yeah, I hear about that. They got like the densest bear population or something like New Jersey.
Yeah, I did not know that. I know there's a Bear Mountain up there, which had a lot of bears. You know, but I don't ever want to see a bear. No, a lot of deers up by her house.
Yeah,
I guess that's a lot. So.
That's funny. Like, I don't know. I guess you don't. I don't know the whole one fair thing. I didn't know that about New York. I don't think I grew up above Atlanta, and I rode like MARTA, like the MARTA trains, but that was like just occasionally when I was around Atlanta, like public transportation. Well, down here especially not big, but
you really can't. Like, if you drive into Manhattan, you're gonna have to pay parking. It's like $75 or maybe even $100 a day.
Oh wow!
So when you're in a parking garage where you just pull in and the guy takes your car, and like $100 a day, so you really can't drive in Manhattan.
Damn.
You're going to have to take a bus or a train, basically. A lot of people do drive, a lot of people are chauffeurs and stuff like that, because they have a lot more money up there than we have, and you see these penthouses that rent for $20,000 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand how they can afford living there.
I don't know. I guess there's no middle class up there really anymore.
I don't know, but I know I can't afford to live there.
So tell me the story, like how you lost the rock fight and losing sight in your eye. How old were you?
Just... I'm trying to think. I had to be. My father already passed away.
Yeah.
I had to be 15. 15. You just throw rocks at people. You just
like y'all were just like it's like a team sport. Y'all just gonna get together and throw rocks at each other, or like
how do you have a dirt bomb fight over here? A dirt clod fight. You ever
no, I didn't grow up doing that. I'm trying to think what we did. Like. I don't know. I never threw dirt clods or anything, per se. I really don't know what we did. I remember building tree houses as a kid and running around playing tag. I know I heard about people shooting BBs at each other with low-power BB guns, but I never did that.
That's a little more dangerous, I think, than rock.
Yeah, like that's like one of the things like the daisies that pump. Like, all right, it's only like one pump. You can't pump it up 10 times. I never did that.
One pump rule.
Yeah, like I heard people talking about that. I was like, man, y'all were sketchy. But I don't know. I can't remember. I rode four-wheelers and stuff, because I lived in the country. I was riding four-wheelers ever since I was, probably 5 or 6 little four-wheelers. I don't remember. We had I had slingshots and wrist rockets, but I would just never. I was shooting animals and stuff. I never really shot
your friends.
Anybody. No. I guess I wasn't. Maybe I wasn't that mean. I don't know. I know I was kind of a wild kid, but I wasn't. I don't know. I probably had to get my sister on here. Ask her. She probably could tell some stories.
I'm sure somebody down here had dirt clod fights.
Yeah.
Someone who would listen to this, and it was just basically the same thing. It was just a bunch of kids having fun.
Yeah.
And it happened.
Just caught one right in the eye.
Yep.
Huh.
It just happened.
It was like immediately like lights out.
Yeah. Yeah, supposedly the rock, from what the doctor said, it hit the eyeball. The eyeball went back and severed, like, the optic nerve.
Yeah.
So when the optic nerve, like, sort of tried to heal itself, you just can't, nerves just don't heal. So now I got a great big cataract that they're thinking about, because the eye is still active, and they can't see behind the cataract to make sure there's maybe a tumor or something growing.
Yeah.
People do have eye cancer. So, they're talking about possibly removing the cataract. And I'm like, you know what? If it's not bothering me, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
True.
So,
can't see out of it anyways.
That's the way I feel. Well, it was funny because, I just went to the eye doctor about, 2 months ago. And this doctor, Dr. Deloach, doesn't, I've been going to him since I've been here.
Yeah.
And he really is a phenomenal doctor. I think he's on his way to retire, though. But, he's looking and looking and looking. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He goes, well, I'm looking for age-related changes. And I'm like, really? Have I got that? have I got there? Well, you're actually looking, well, I don't see any cataracts on my good eye. He goes, but I see a lot of plaque. And I'm like, he said, well, these are just age-related changes, And it was funny because then I went to, like, my general practitioner.
Yeah.
Not too long after that. And she's going through the paperwork. And I'm kidding. I said, what are you looking for? Age-related changes? She goes, well, yeah. I said, She goes, everything looks good. I said, does everything look good for my age? And she's like, yeah. I said, so if I was 20 years younger, would it not look good? And she goes, no, everything looks good for your age. And I'm saying, so I'm decaying at the proper rate.
Decaying at the proper rate.
I said, so my organ failure is acceptable range. Is that what you're trying to tell me? She goes, no, everything's fine. So I'm like, and that, Brad, is why I decided to maybe it's time to retire.
Yeah.
And because, my sisters are older. Before these age-related changes get to me,
yeah,
I might as well just, try to enjoy what I could.
Yeah.
So
nothing wrong with that.
So I made the call. Now, I love my job as a paramedic. I tell you, I would never change it. I don't care how much money I didn't make, how much money I missed.
Yeah.
By doing something else, I don't even care. I just absolutely loved my job, and I still do. I think it is the best job in the world. And I know a lot of people disagree because of the working conditions and stuff, but for me, it was a blast. I loved every minute of it. I really did.
I knew you figured. I always figured you had to love it to come back, especially once I knew you got your nursing and to stay in it. For as long as you.
I really didn't want to retire, but I had to look. I had, could I really, because my normal retirement age is like 67 and a half. Mm-hmm. So I'm even taking a hit on that. But I figure 65, because my oldest sister's 76 now.
Yeah.
Tampa. I want to spend some time with my sisters because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So I figured the only way to do it, without having to burn up on my vacation or call out sick and go visit for extended periods. So basically now, as me and my dog, I sent him to the dog border, and this lady, and she's really good. She's I think 68 years old. She boards dogs out of her house. She's been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah.
So, and she's great at it, and the dogs love her, and I'm good with it. And she's a lot cheaper than a vet. So, these last 2 years, since my wife passed, it's been really hard having a dog because my 24-hour shifts. My dog is an inside dog. He's not an outside dog. I couldn't just leave him outside for 24 hours. I don't know what would happen. So she was kind enough to open up her business an hour early every third day to take Sammy and then, pick him up the next morning at 7 o'clock when she didn't open up till 7:30. So she really bent over backwards to help me out. And she's been great. So,
what did you meet? Did you meet your wife when you moved down here?
No, I met her in Virginia.
Ah,
she was born and raised in Virginia.
And she came down here with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we both came down here to take care of my mom. Help my sister take care of my mom, because, and then things just happen.
Yeah. What did Chris do? I mean, I met her.
She was a beautician.
Yeah.
She was a beautician. She worked at a bunch of these hair salons. She done a good job. She had a great big following.
Yeah.
And, that could have been probably some of her problem, from lung cancer, for breathing all those chemicals.
Yeah, a lot of stuff in there.
But, we don't try to dwell on it. Things happen.
Yeah.
And it happened.
My dad had a COPD later on in life, and he never smoked, but it was pretty much assumption from just working carpentry and all around all the lacquer and paint and all that
the
junk.
Fumes and everything else, and the dust particles that you can't see,
Yeah.
So
and that was pretty much assumption. He got all that from that.
Yeah, COPD is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Especially when it's an exasperation of it. It's scary. Mm-hmm. It's a scary feeling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I met your wife a few times. I don't think I met her too much. I know, my wife would see you and Chris sometimes and tell me, I saw Pete.
Yeah. We it was rough. It was a rough time.
Now, what did Chris, was she all for you getting into EMS, or how was that when you swapped to like 24-hour shifts?
She didn't mind it.
Yeah.
She really didn't mind it.
Yeah.
She was 100% behind me, and that's what made things, because, EMS is hard. If your wife's not behind you, and, there's not a lot of trust in a relationship, things can go south,
We've seen a lot.
Things can happen quick.
Yeah.
So, at one time in Dougherty County, they allowed, the emergency room nurses to ride on the ambulance with us, to see what we have to go through.
Yeah.
why we didn't have somebody fully immobilized or why an IV wasn't started, what the conditions we worked in. So they totally, the theory was good, but what was happening maybe not so good. So
they probably didn't think about EMS people.
So that lasted a little while. So now they just have to take our word for it why we didn't get IVs.
I could see how terribly that would go, especially back in the earlier days.
Yeah, it just didn't work out very well. So anyway, the theory, like I said, was good. So
I think Ashley worked EMS for a little bit before I met her, so she had an understanding of it. But I think I think now. I think sometimes she looks forward to me being gone from the house 24 hours. She can get stuff done.
That's when later on in their marriage that happens. Yeah, exactly. People who have a little bit of years in their marriage, it's a little bit easier than just being married. And you're gone again?
Yeah. And I joke with Ashley now. Like I was like, I'm too old. I was like, I'm old enough now that I would see how stupid it would be. And I was like, trust me too. I was like, I don't have the brain power to keep up with more than just my family and you. I was like, hey, it's just too much. I'm being overtaxed. It's not worth it. I like my family and my kids too much.
It's the truth. That old saying, it's cheaper to keep her.
And look, I never understood like the guys that, I would hear like had like some long-term affair going on. I'm like, how do they have the mental capacity to be able to juggle all that? I was like, I don't. I was like, I'd be slipping up. Like, I don't have that.
I was 100% faithful.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can hold my head up. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys, they're out with their wives and they'll meet somebody and they'll, something might have happened in the past. Mm-hmm. But I never had. I was no issues whatsoever,
Yeah.
That was a thing that, I done right by my wife. The best thing I could do, I have no guilt feelings. Whatever happened, happened, but I done 100%, 110%.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would ever doubt that. I know whenever I saw you with Chris or whatever, and whenever I would hear about it, I was like, I know Pete. Pete 100% loves his wife, and I knew you were going above and beyond. Well, I guess really you're doing what a husband should be doing as a spouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the way I felt about it.
Yeah,
that's the way I felt about it.
Yeah. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that respected you, for that, and just really the way you treat people, even as a supervisor.
Well,
I don't think I've ever seen you ever talk down to anybody. I mean, I know you've worked EMS, you'll crack jokes and stuff, but I think it's always something appreciative. You always respect. You could always tell you respected people until they didn't give you any respect equally.
Right.
You weren't scared to tell somebody something.
You had boundaries. I mean, you're a supervisor. You had to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, And I'm going to tell you, of course, I'm not going to mention any names, but I heard some people tell me, I was a bad supervisor because I protected my men to a fault. And I'd say, you know what? Look, I said, I want you to look at all the crews you've got. I said, how many times have my crews got a complaint? How have they ever been lost? Have they any kind of issues? Do they abuse their sick leave? I said, absolutely not. I said, I asked one thing for these guys: stay in their territory and run their calls. That's all I asked of them. And, they respected me because, you mentioned Clay Dale.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, he'll come up, hey, Pete, man, we're going to do this. We know it's wrong. And if you write us up, if we get caught, we're going to take it. And hang up. And I'll be like, oh, gosh. They'd get back and they'd do what they had to do, and everything was quiet.
Clay has like the best dry humor.
Oh, he's
of anybody.
Hysterical.
Yeah, if you have to kind of get to know him, but he, like I said, the stuff that comes out of his mouth is hysterical, but it's so dry. Like, this like whatever, and like you think about it, like, what? Damn, Clay.
You had to catch it. Catch it.
Yeah. If you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't catch it. But he was his mind is one of a kind.
But don't forget, man, I had Brian Williamson and Zach Fenner on my shift, right out there in the Palmyra station. No, the one off 82, Station 3. And we were housed with the fire department at that time. So Five Guys hamburger place just opened.
Yeah,
all right. I don't know if you remember the story
in the other county,
in Dougherty County, right? So I'm sitting there at my desk, and Bobby Watkins walks in with a piece of paper, and it's the AVL, the automatic locator vehicle thing, showing that they left for 29 minutes, left the station, and went to Five Guys, got some hamburgers, and came back. He said, and he looked at me with a dead drive. He said, did you give these guys permission to go to the Five Guys hamburger place. And I'm like, no. I said, I didn't know anything about it. He said, well, they went. I said, Bobby, they would not do that. They would not do that. He shows me the thing. I'm like, gosh, dog. I said, man, how did you know? He said, the fireman ratted him out because they didn't bring him any hamburgers. So I had to go down there and write up Zach and Brian for leaving the territory, even though we're talking.
And they weren't even the territory; they went into another county.
Yeah, I know.
Like not even the service area.
But I know they were wrong. They didn't tell me they were wrong. And if they would have brought the fireman a hamburger and some French fries, nothing would have been said.
I got a cop buddy, and he was working. I can't remember what county it was, but it's like a neighboring county to Atlanta, to Fulton County. Fulton County is the county for Atlanta. And they were working a neighboring county and said he was working a night shift. And this is before the tracking on police cars and stuff. But he said they had this sergeant or whatever, I guess the shift commander, whatever he is, who they didn't like. And he said one of the guys, his patrol car, drove fast hell, went down to the varsity, middle of Atlanta, and got a bunch of varsity and came back and put it on his desk.
You're kidding me.
And he said this, the commander came back and caught on the radio, who has been to Fulton County? And then brought back the varsity and put it on his desk for him to eat, just messing with him. He's like,
That's
you went way out of territory, went all the way down there, got him some food, and just left it on his desk, like, hey, just mess with him.
You know, we used to when we took out of because Dougherty County took a lot of transfers out of town. You know, when I first started, like to Atlanta and stuff. Not critical. Well, they were critical, but sometimes not so.
Yeah.
You know, we'd take it, and people went because you'd get overtime, and they'd buy you lunch or breakfast or dinner or something, give you like $20 to eat and come back. Well, those guys used to come back, they'd go to, what was those, We Bear All places up there, and like give a receipt that they went to like the nudist, and Bobby Tripp would have a heart attack.
Oh my god!
Thinking they actually went there, and then he finally put out a thing, we could not go to Hooters to eat. Like, he just didn't like the idea of seeing an ambulance parked in front of Hooters restaurant for whatever reason.
Look, I did, before I became paramedic, I went to the Waycross wildfires when I was working fire department over there in Waycross. Remember them when those were like 07 or whatever it was? And, you had fire departments from all over the state there, and they'd make these like a task force, and the captain, the person who's over my task force, is guy Captain Simmons, and he was a captain for City of Atlanta, I think it was. And I was talking to him about different stuff, and he was like, yeah, we'll go down the street and we'll eat lunch at the strip club. I was like, what? He was like, yeah. He's like, we'll take that. I was like, you'll take the fire truck to the strip club? He's like, yeah. He's like, we'll eat lunch there. He's like, why not? It's a business center district. I was like, oh my Lord. I said that in South Georgia, I said that people would have a stroke. You would be on the newspaper, like front. He's like, well, we have to go there and do pre-fire plans and stuff. He's like, we're there anyways. He's like, it's land now. It's like, I thought that was just like the most amazing thing. I can't imagine taking the fire truck to the strip club and eating lunch. But he's like, yeah.
No. As long as I'm not in charge, I'm all for it. But if I'm in charge, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but he's like, he's like, it's not like we go every day. He's like, we can. He's like, we will. And like, I don't know if like his higher ups agree with it. Hopefully, I'm sure he's retired by now. This is many years. This is 07. But I thought that was just like the craziest thing.
It's just like everything else. You can do or not do whatever you want, as long as you can justify.
Yeah.
Now, if you can justify going to a strip club and eating when there's a Burger King right next door, then good luck.
Yeah.
It's just not a good optic.
No. And I guess it's kind of like Atlanta too. Like, who cares? They're so big. Probably not the worst thing fire department be doing.
Yeah.
But he's like, we're in our service area. And he's like, it's right down the street. And I'm like, I guess. You're following the rules, but it's just, like you said, the optics. And I was like, in South Georgia, that would not go.
They did not play that. Bobby Tripp finally put out a thing, and no eating at Hooters. You don't want to see an ambulance in front of Hooters restaurant. Regardless if it was a family restaurant, it just didn't like the way it looked. And you know what? We never went to Hooters.
Yeah.
To pick up food.
That's, the difference in like county optics in South Georgia with small town county commissioners. Well, they don't like that. It's not going to look good.
That's one of those you don't want to get called in the carpet on something like that. So, because they'll know who the ambulance is. They'll track all that stuff. Now we're having a problem with the speed cameras around Albany.
Tagging ambulances?
Tagging the ambulances, no 1018 running. They're maybe doing, But some of them, I believe, are not properly marked. Like the one, I think the one on Slappy Boulevard is like from 7:30 in the morning to like 4 in the afternoon, whether the lights are flashing or not.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair. I think it's entrapment.
Yeah.
But
well, I heard somebody. I think it was actually my wife told me that something like they were doing away with the tickets, like, or something that you could contest them, not have to pay them, or it was something like that. But she told me that she's like they're watching you because I got one. I think it was over on like Monroe or something.
Sure,
the school over there, and maybe it's like a 30 or something. I think, or maybe it's a 25.
The school times it's 25. They're going to give you 35. They're not going to give you 36.
Yeah, and it was something I wasn't. It was like I don't know 10 a.m. or something. I was coming by there, and I think I'm trying to remember what the scenario was, or maybe it was at the end of school hours. But I didn't even see the school, but the camera is set up like on the block over too, like the whole 4-side block of that or something. But I was going by, and I think I was going like 40 or something, and it's like a 35 or maybe like something like that. I was going like a little bit over, but I guess I caught the tail end of the school zone, and they sent me a big ticket. Oh, you're going like 16 over. I was like, I 16 over. I was like, I'm going like 40 miles an hour, and I guess it's the 25 or something. But yeah, they got me on that, and I was like, this is some bull.
Yeah,
and I want to.
The main thing, it doesn't go against your license. It's not a moving violation. It doesn't hurt your insurance.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just, as long as you pay the fine, no points on your license. So it's either pay up or you can't register your vehicle next year.
Yeah. It sounds a lot like extortion.
Someone's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think the first year, I think they made like $3 million off of
I believe
something.
it.
I mean, I know my partner donated to that market.
Oh, Lord.
He had like 4 tickets.
Oh.
They were at least $80 a piece. So
when they first put those out, my buddy drove a service truck, and he drive to work. And I can't remember which one of them always would tag him because he was always going to work right about when it started or something, right when the camera, like school zone time started.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where it was, but he was going out there towards like Newton Road or something. Might have been on Slappy. I don't know, but it would always tag him. Like he'd be like, dang, school camera. He's like, and he would be like, pass it like 3 minutes after the zone started, because it was always like right there about the time he had to be at his work.
He learned though. Did he learn?
Oh
now?
Yeah. He got a couple of them in his service truck. And
it's just like everything. When it hits you in your wallet, you learn.
Yeah.
You don't learn until it costs you some money, and then all of a sudden say, "Ouch, that hurt."
Yeah, I got a school zone ticket a while back in my car, heading to work.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
I have not had. But my mailbox is like a box of chocolates. When I open up, I don't know what's coming out of it, and I'm expecting to see one.
Yeah.
I am expecting. Not personal now. Passing the school bus, I think that's a really bad offense with those stop signs out. I mean,
you got to be pretty brave to do that. I mean, I know people do it, but
they say they have cameras on the school buses that pick up people doing that, and they will get a ticket in the mail. I don't know. That's the last I heard.
I wouldn't be surprised. I had not heard that. Which they're talking now about putting helicopter or cameras in the helicopter, like kind of like the ambulance. But I was like, how are they going to do that with patient care? You can't do the patient, but I guess it's supposed to be like a fisheye camera or something on the pilot. Not necessarily.
What are you looking for?
I guess it's more of just like if there's any issues like with a helicopter or something, like if there's any kind of mechanical issue. I don't know if it's more for the FAA or what, but that's what they were talking about. They're going to start doing that. I really don't know exactly why. But it's recording the radio traffic, and it'd be like a fisheye camera. But I was like, I know from a HIPAA standpoint, I said I don't think you can be recording the patient, so I don't know. Maybe they can maybe they can put like a blocker or some blackout part of the screen or something. I'm really not sure. I don't know.
Do you ever get antsy being in the helicopter? Are you ever scared flying when you think? I know those pilots are not going to fly unless they feel 100% sure that it's a safe flight.
I've never been. No, I trust our pilots a lot, and I trust the way they maintain the aircraft. To be honest, I feel safer in the helicopter than I do like a long transfer on the ground in the ambulance now with like a lot of drivers out there. But, we don't ever push weather. The only time I ever got a little creeped out, and I guess a little bit scared was we were flying back from a hospital back to base, and some thunderstorms popped up like in summer afternoon, and we were a ways from them. We were 15 miles from them, and all of a sudden they brewed up close to us, and there was like a lightning strike. Like, oh man, it might have been a mile and a half from us. It was close enough.
Was it scary?
It was uncomfortable. Yeah. We diverted the opposite direction real quickly, but all of a sudden, summer thunderstorms in Georgia, they can pop up quick.
Yeah, and without warning, it almost seems.
Yeah, and like I said, there was no lightning within 10 miles. And then all of a sudden, like, it just came together, perfect hot Georgia, summer humid weather, and it brewed up close to us, and there was a pop right close to us. And I was like, "Yep, we're going over here. We're not going back that way. We're going to go. We're going to divert south."
Way. Well,
and that was like I felt like I could feel like the boom off the crack in it. Like it was close.
Well, I know those pilots are highly trained. A lot of them, Army pilots. I remember military pilots. And you gotta feel. I mean, even in an airplane, that those pilots, they're not going to do anything that they're not hot dogs, they're not cowboys.
What you learn, like every pilot's a little different. Like I mean, they all fly similarly, but if you hang around them enough, you kind of know like their proclivities and like kind of how they'll want to land and fly. I mean, they all will want to land into the wind, but you just learn. You feel out your pilots. You do it enough, you figure out how they are and what they're comfortable with.
But when you're with them so long and you've been there for so you probably know a lot of the pilots. I remember when I worked at the hotel, Delta Airlines, they had like 2 flights that would come in at that time. One was like at 6 o'clock at night, and one was like at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
and so for extra money, I'd come back from work and I'd drive the van out there and pick up. It was a stewardess, a pilot, and a co-pilot, and take them back to the Quality Inn hotel. Delta rented 6 rooms a night, 365 days a year, just specifically for the Then I'd go back again at 10 o'clock at night, and pick the crew up and bring them back. Well, I'd done it so long. Well, I knew the crew. I would know the crews. Well, when I got a crew, I know, it was so bad. When I got a crew, like at 10 o'clock at night, when I didn't know them, I'd pull into the Mabry Hotel. I said, "Here you guys go." And they'd be looking like, man, I'd roll, man. They didn't. That was a funny thing to do.
Like,
man.
Where are we at?
Yeah, this is it. This is your room right here. And it'd be, how the Mabry was before they tore it down, man. I tell you, had to do stuff to keep stuff alive.
Oh yeah, that's what I say all the time at work. I was like, you got to enjoy your job. You got to have a little fun.
They didn't have a clue because it was an awful thing to do to them. I know it was.
Yeah, one of my favorite things if I have to call somebody or something, or call a hospital, like on a phone. Maybe not necessarily on the radio, but I'd be like, "All right, love you." I'm like, "What?" And I hang up. I don't know. I just like to. I don't know. I like to enjoy the job.
Yeah,
the small things. You
got to. And like I said, I loved being. I thought it was the best job in the world. Yeah. I really, I'm gonna miss it. A lot of people, I'll never miss the job. I'll miss the people. No, I'm gonna miss the people and the job. Yeah, I know I am. I know I will. It was just a. If you find your niche, I guess you could find your niche.
Yeah.
I wasn't the best. I wasn't the worst.
But that's exactly how I feel about myself. It's like I'm just middle of the road.
You know what?
I'm like a generalist on like a lot of small things.
Exactly. That's the exact way I feel. I never strive to be the best at anything because I got so many things that if I strive to be the best, I'll never be good at any of them. I just want to hold my own. That's all I want to do. I want to hold my own, and I feel, as a paramedic, I can go up to Atlanta and run with the guys from Grady and the big cities and stuff. I think I would never have,
Yeah. I'd have no doubt you would.
I feel like I could go on the stage with the best blues band there is and blow a harp with them. I'm not the best, but as long as I hold my own, I don't care. I'll go down to the fun park and hit some softballs. As long as I can hit a few, I'm good. I go out to the disc golf and play some disc golf. Am I the best disc golf player? No. But I'll bring a few holes here and there. So, never strive to be the best because then you'd be disappointed. We don't want to be
I try to set the bar low.
That's right.
So then they're pleasantly surprised. Well, you do know a little bit.
It's like that saying, you never ever want to meet your hero. Because, you might be let down. And like, don't ever meet your hero. So...
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess you always had a good attitude too, like even to like staff and people. And it's kind of one of those things like you're gonna get more flies with honey than vinegar, or whatever.
Right.
And
you gotta in a leader position, you got to know that not everyone's having a good day, man.
No,
there's so much going on and so much stuff under the surface that you don't see. Mm-hmm. And you could say the one thing that could set somebody off. And that's how I felt in the field. I know this guy's having a bad day.
Yeah.
Why am I going to be a smart to him? Why am I going to try to be condescending? It's not, the guy could go crazy.
Yeah.
Or the girl could go crazy. There's no reason for it. Me and Mark, Robinson, we were on the exact same page with patient care, exactly the same, and that's why I think we got along so well. It's because we both felt exactly the same. You know, the job as a paramedic or an EMT, I just keep saying paramedic, but even EMT, Bs or whatever, the job is partner related. It's not job related. The job is dependent on your partner. If you get along with your partner and you're on the same page, you can have the absolute worst shift, the worst calls, the worst patients. You know what? Things will be okay.
Yeah.
You know, but if you have a partner you're not on the same page with, it makes 24 hours a living hell. And that's, you know, you got to be, you got to have that talk in the beginning. Say, this is the way, you know, I like to roll.
Makes all the calls difficult too, because now you're not just thinking about what you got to do. You're like, all right, me and this person not on the same wavelength. Like, it makes it more stressful. It makes the shift really long.
It does. It makes it long. The whole job is partner related. Maybe probably in the fire department too, because you know you're with 6 people that you gotta all get along with, and you know.
And it's one of those things where you would rather have a partner who's very, like, I don't want to say, well, I guess the best way, very easy to get along with, who's moderately knowledgeable, than having a partner who knows everything that's going to be like cumbersome or like tough to come to agreement on anything with. Like, oh no, that's not right. That's not the way you do it.
You don't secure it that way. This is
This is the way you do it. Like, that's good. This makes life so difficult than if somebody who is easier to work with, who's like, all right, the goal is this is what we want to accomplish.
This is what we do. This is the end. This is
the end goal we want to accomplish. Okay, you want to do it that way? Okay, we can do that way.
Work with the people who
that works. Okay,
bark, yell at people, blame everything. If it went wrong, blame it on the basic EMT because it's the basic EMT. Blame everything on. You know, it just makes life very difficult. I was very lucky to have good partners. I'm telling you, probably for 30 years I've never really had bad partners.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't say I've had a terrible, which I feel like I'm a fairly affable person to work with.
You're great, Brad. You're a top shelf.
I try to be easy to work with because I definitely know I don't know everything. I know
man, you're the Patron of liquor. You are the man. You are.
No, I'll do some dumb stuff, and that's a lot of times when I get in trouble. It's because of that. I do stuff I'm like, it seems like a good idea at the time. I'm like, man, that's a terrible idea later on. You know, I tell people, I was like, I can't. It's like, I'm not an expert on telling you what to do, but I'm a pretty good expert on telling you some things you don't need to do.
Yeah.
And let me tell you about that's what I've told people. I was like, look, I'm not an expert. I'm not a very good instructor. I was like, I'm not a person that's going to be that can give you a good 3-hour lecture on stuff. But I said, you got some lab stuff, and we tell you some ways to get some stuff done and some ways not to do some stuff. I'll tell you
how not to do it.
Yeah, I'll tell you how not to do it. Let me just tell you these examples. I hate telling people what to do or, you know, like the best way to do something. Like, I show you some ways I found that work well, or people have showed me, you know, or some slight knowledge.
It's a helping profession. It was, and I can't tell you how many times, like, if somebody you knew would start up there, and they were like, "Man, I'm having really hard time with IVs. Man, I just can't get them." And I'd say, "All right." I'd go into the supply room. I'd break out a bunch of Heplocks, some like 22 gauge needles, the little smaller ones, you know. And here's my arm. You know, I got all these great veins. Just keep sticking and get good flashback. And they would stick until they felt confident. And then, you know, even then, like, they would start at the hand. I'd tell them, like, you know what? Until you build up your confidence in the hand, let's go with the big, juicy Anacube.
Yeah.
And let's get some confidence built up where you feel comfortable doing that. So, you know, it's a teaching and a learning profession. I
was terrible at IVs when I started. I think it was in paramedic school. I know Steve Ebel was a preceptor of mine at Phoebe, and I missed it was like a dozen or so IVs I missed in a row. I think when we were just doing ER clinicals. And Steve was like, "How are you missing all these?" And I was like, you know, I was like, "I don't know, I'm just whatever." And he was taking me aside and he was like showing me his forearm, which I'm colorblind, you know. And he was like, "You see like this vein right here?" And I was like, "No, what vein?" He was like, "This big blue vein right here." And I was like, Nope. He's like, "You don't see that?" I was like, "I'm colorblind." He's like, "Oh." And so I got real good at palpating veins.
And still looking at the color.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
But I just remember Steve being like, "You don't see that?" I was like, "No, I'm colorblind, Steve."
That's too funny.
Like, I didn't know anybody. I never saw anybody blush till years ago. Actually, my wife bought me those Enchroma sunglasses, like the colorblind sunglasses.
I never heard of them.
And I put them on, and I could see her blush, and I was like,
"Did it really work?"
Yeah, it worked for him. Which I have to wear contacts, you know, for them to work, and they work off the like outside light, like a reflected light from the sun. They don't work off like produced like fluorescent or LED lights.
Okay.
So like outside,
it's only good outside then.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I can see colors outside with them, but it's kind of a weird concept because I mean the concept of glasses is great. They work for me, but like trying to explain to people like, oh, so you know that's red now. I'm like, well, I don't know. It's what you call red. Like my whole life, I don't really know what's red. It's a different color, but now I got glasses on that are showing me a different color than I've seen all my life. So I can tell that's a different color, but for me to tell you it's red, it's kind of difficult. Like, I guess that's red. Like, it's just an association of what you want that color to be. And now I've got these glasses on that now have it a whole different color than what I'm used to seeing, or at least a shade of it.
Did it open things up for you? Did you feel it?
Like I said, I saw my wife blush for the first time. I've never seen anybody blush. And now it's like, I joke still now on the helicopter.
What made her blush? Nah.
Well, probably just me having the glasses on.
Oh, I get you. I get you.
Like, I took a colorblind test with the glasses on outside off the light, and I passed it. Like off the little cards,
Sure.
Uh-huh. But I joke with people now on the ambulance or on the helicopter because I wear my prescription glasses now instead of the contacts. And I said, if I can see somebody pale, it's real bad. Yeah. And like, so I'll ask people, it's like, are they pretty pale? Like I asked my partner, yeah, they're pretty pale. Okay. Yeah. Like, because I can't tell until they're really pale. Like the color in your skin, like I don't see that. Like it's just, like I don't know, like the redness, like somebody's flushed, like I don't see it.
Well,
it's all the same to me.
It's funny you rely on your partners for that because, like, with only having one eye, I have absolutely no depth perception.
Yeah.
I can't tell how far anything is in front of me or behind me because everything's on it's one plane.
Yeah.
Like if I was to try to pour this in a glass, I'd probably miss it.
Yeah.
I have to put my finger in the glass and pour it,
Yeah.
And we'll be driving the ambulance. It'll be under something low. Hey, Pete, can I make it? Man, Mark, don't ask me.
Yeah.
Don't. Don't really, Mark. Don't. You know better than to ask me. Stick your head out and look yourself. I can't tell because I couldn't. I mean, yeah, you can make it. Kaboom, man. Doing these driving tests for Dougherty County, man, they were really strict in the very beginning. And I was with a different partner back then, and they're like, they want you to back the ambulance up to like within 12 inches of a cone. I'll be like, man, you better tell me to stop. Hit the daggone cone. You
got a spotter?
Stop. No, we didn't have spotters back then. My partner was in the seat behind me.
That's what I'm saying. I'd be asking him, you got a spotter?
I know. That's what I should have said that. But yeah, any type of depth perception stuff. Like it was just so funny.
We were flying into Tallahassee with one of our pilots at our base, and I guess I hadn't been there all that long. And Tallahassee has two helipads, one's green and one's red. And we're flying in at night, and we're circling left side, my side of the helicopter, and the pilot goes, "Hey, is it the red or the green pad?"
Oh my goodness!
I said, "True." He said, "What?" I said, "Man, I'm colorblind. I don't know which one's which." I
didn't want to hear that, did you?
Yeah, and it was not long ago. I was with the same pilot, and we're flying in to another hospital we hadn't been to or hadn't been forever. And he asked me something about, is it the pad with the orange lights? Like, shit, you don't know. And he was asking my partner, like, which pad is it?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Don't even listen to him.
I was like, I don't know. You got to give me some other descriptor. Like, is it the pad up top, higher, further north? Like, I don't know.
Really? I need a little more information,
two pads.
sir.
Yeah. And I tell people at times, like, it'd be amazing to me to see what colors are really like. I said, because it is everybody's primary descriptor on anything.
I
was like,
never really think about that.
And I said, and to me, it's not the primary descriptor. I'll go with something else. Like, I'd be like, yeah, it's that door. That door that's kind of like taller than the rest, or like I don't know, just be some other descriptor. And this is kind of funny. Like in college, I was in a fraternity, and we'd be at a party or something, and it'd be like a buddy, like, oh man, look at that girl in like the red shirt. I'd be like, do you have any other descriptor? Like any other descriptor. And then it became
that's
like
not color wise.
Yeah, and then of course you're like a dimly lit, party or something, like, because it makes it even more difficult for me to decipher. I'm sitting there like, okay, what's probably red compared to something else? I'm like, it was just always funny to me. And then it became like a thing, like my buddies would just like do it on purpose. Oh man, that girl over there in the white or whatever skirt. I'm like, stop. Like it was just funny.
I'm bad. Like, I'm really bad at the buffet.
Yeah.
You're coming up on my left side, I'm going to knock you down. I tell you, man. So I've learned to turn around every time I go because, let's say like the lower left quadrant.
Yeah.
I will trip over it, fall over it. I'll kick it. It doesn't matter, man. If it's a kid, he better look out because I sure can't see him.
Man, I'll tell you a funny story about being colorblind. You remember Christy Hasty?
Yeah. Where is she now? Not to get off talking. I know she's a nurse.
Last I knew, she was working up there in around Macon County.
Okay.
I think still living in Ellaville as a nurse, but I don't know. I saw her like last year, maybe. I went and I took my drone to help try to look for a dog, but I don't remember where. Last I knew, she was working at that little hospital up there in
Ellaville?
Macon County.
Oh.
Well, she lives in Ellaville, but of Macon County somewhere. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway,
but anyways, it was years ago when we were partners on the ambulance. We went to one of the regulars we used to go to over there off that. You probably remember, guy had AFib, that trailer park over there off of the bypass in Leesburg. He always had his little dog. You know the guy I'm talking about?
I know.
Yeah. You remember what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to think of the trailer park's name.
I can't remember it either. But you know the person I'm talking about. I think he wound up passing away. But anyways, this guy always had AFib. I would go into runs AFib. You know, his rate would be like 130, 140 or whatever. Like, and he'd be all dramatic. It was like 2 a.m, and we were going to go ahead and get a line on him. And so I remember he had a big old juicy like dorsal hand vein, and it was Christy's call, and so it was like, hey, do you want a line? She's like, yeah, let's go ahead and get a line in case we need to give him something. And so I tourniqueted up, got all hip lock started and everything, and I sit there and stuck him. I remember Hasty's eyes were just big, looking at me. I was like, what? And I'm sitting there fishing around trying to get this vein, this big old juicy vein, but like them old gel codes or whatever had, like that sharp, trying to get the pop.
Ones.
And she's just looking at me. I'm looking at her, I'm like, what? And Jack's over. That was his name, Jack. And my patient info, but I think he's passed away now. But he's sitting there, ow. I was like, quit hollering, ain't that bad. And I said, I'm just trying to get this line on you, which he was always dramatic. And I remember I got the line on him. I said, taped it down, flushed it and everything. The line was good. And looked at Hasty. I was like, you good? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. Whatever, you know. I was like, I don't know what's going on with Christy, you know. This is back in the day because we took him to Palmyra when he was still there. Took him to Palmyra, you know, got the patient, got him off the stretcher, and she's giving a report to the nurse, and I'm over there just making up the stretcher, you know, out in the hallway. And Hasty came back around, and she said, she's like, were you mad at him or something? I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, I saw you starting at 16 in his hand. I was like,
no.
And I was like, I didn't start a 16 in his hand. By the time the nurse comes around the corner, he goes, hey, I appreciate that 16 in the hand. You don't see that very often. And I was like, So my colorblind butt grabbed the 16 instead of the 18.
The green,
20.
Whatever the color.
I don't know.
Green
But
and gray.
Yeah. Those needles back then were like, to me, the shades weren't that different. And so, I was fishing around with 16 in his hand. Chris says, I thought you were just mad at him and like punishing him, starting at 16 in his hand. I was like, no. I was like, I thought I had a 18.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was wondering why he kept looking at me. And I unnecessarily started.
Bobby Watkins, we had to get those gel codes, the non-safety gel codes, man. I'm like, Bobby, they have safety because I was the head of the supplies. I'm like, they have safety. He goes, no, they cost too much you just got to be careful.
Yeah.
They cost too much.
Oh, and those things were like dull too compared to like those protected caps.
Yeah,
and stuff.
man.
Those things be like they were dull,
bad.
especially in the bigger gauge ones.
And
like
you had
that.
to put, they didn't have the thing to slide off. You had to actually
break them free.
slide them off by hand. They were so bad.
Yeah.
And Bobby's like, nope, man, we don't have money for that budget. You gotta use the gel codes.
I just always forget. I always remember Chrissy just looking at me like big eyes, and I was like, "What's your deal?" You know. And she's like, I appreciate that.
She was funny. Her and I were actually pretty good friends. I know did she end up getting married?
She married Matt, and then he wound up, getting cancer.
I did not know.
Yeah, she married Matt McPhail, which, he was paramedic over there in Marion County or whatever. Then he wound up getting cancer. I think it was brain cancer, but he wound up passing away,
I had no idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, but she had one son with Matt, and then what did she have? 2 kids before, I think. Yeah, she had her 2 other kids. Yeah, she had when she was young. Mm-hmm. But of course, they're older now. When she was working at Lee, I think they were early teens,
little,
or right at 10 or something. But they're older now.
I bet they are. Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah.
I always wondered where she ended. I knew she got her nurse, but I never knew where. She still lives in Ellaville.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I have a nephew who lives in Thomaston, and the halfway point is Ellaville,
Yeah.
the big Ellaville Mecca.
Mm-hmm.
So we meet over there. There's a little Subway and there's a pizza parlor over
Yeah.
there, and there's a Subway.
That pizza place used to be pretty good. I worked there part-time for 3 years.
I think a new one opened up.
Oh, okay.
I think that one closed down and a new one opened. I think it's pretty good. I haven't tried it there
Yeah.
yet, but that's how Meeting Point.
Yeah.
We'll usually do like lunch over there.
Yeah.
And just to meet, hang out a little bit.
Hit up
But I
the-
cannot believe they put a roundabout.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on now. Really, is that necessary?
Well, look, that intersection used to be bad when I worked EMS up there because it was
Seriously?
19 and 26. Because people because you have that 19 run north-south and 26 run east-west, and people running 26 would just blow through there. And then they get T-boned. And there were several wrecks, that bad wrecks had right there because people wouldn't stop. And they just hit 19, and just blow right through it. And
And maybe that's the reason.
Yeah.
I would never thought. You would think that like people who live there know 19's there.
Yeah.
They know they have to.
I think it
stop.
was probably just like out of town people or whatever. Like,
That's-
because it's rural right there. And like,
Yeah.
if you're not paying attention, blow right through a stop sign into a 4-lane highway.
They got one heading towards. They're redoing Moultrie Road from.
Oh, yeah. I went through the other day. Yeah.
And there's a roundabout over there too for.
And that was another terrible intersection.
Yeah.
Right down here, South Worth County,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are bad. But I'm hoping. I think it's 4 lanes from the other side of Moultrie
Yeah.
to 70. I haven't been down that far yet, but
Yeah, when I came up the other day, I was like, it's the 4-lane. Because I was going from like that roundabout up towards Albany before I turned off.
Yeah.
Onto another road. And I was like, wow, it's 4-lane. The 4-lane's open now.
a lot of it is 4 lanes. Some of it is,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is. And we've had some bad wrecks out there because it's only 45 miles an hour, and people are trying to pass.
Oh, man, yeah.
the road. I've never liked Moultrie Road.
Well, now that 4-lane I was on, it's now a 65, or at least the 4-lane section that was opened.
Really?
But I was on, I don't know if it's opened on the other side of the roundabout going to Moultrie Road, but the section I was on heading towards Albany from that roundabout it was open. It was 65, yeah.
They might. Well, I was out there at the car show here a couple of weekends ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I know some of it was open and some of it wasn't.
Yeah.
I just know that on the other side of the roundabout, I think it goes down to 2 lanes and then it opens back up in Moultrie. So, hey, they're trying. It's been a long time coming. They've been talking about it for 30 years.
Yeah, that road's been rough.
But I always say we had some really bad wrecks on that road, and it's just bad place.
Yeah. I don't think I've always hear about them being Worth County, that bad intersection of 112, and I think it's 112.
Yeah,
33, whatever it is down wherever that roundabout is. There's always been terrible wrecks right there.
Worth County is bad, period, for wrecks. Now, you've worked some Bouray wrecks here.
Yeah.
And where I've never worked Worth County because I'm going to tell you, man, I never liked rural counties. Not because I didn't ever want to be a paramedic in a rural county. I just don't like being out in the middle. You would never catch me out in the woods, in a deer stand hunting or anything. I don't like it. I don't like being out. It's agoraphobia. Maybe that's the word, the fear of being outdoors. I don't know. I never liked being out. These little, like Randolph County, Clay County, Americus, these little 2-lane roads. No lights on, no street lights, dirt roads. I just can't do it. I have very high anxiety.
Yeah.
So I always, if you would put me in the South Station in Albany, I'm good till I retire. Street lights, people, I don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I worked here, which I worked here for a while. I mean, Worth County is actually a big county.
It's huge
with a lot of, pretty busy little state highways. And like 300 and 33 and all those. 32. There, where 32 used to cost 300, that was a terrible intersection.
It still is.
Yeah,
it still is.
good.
I don't care what they do, it still is.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's some bad wrecks around here. That's for sure. They're still happening. I don't think there's a solution to all of them, but yeah, they definitely haven't.
Those little 2-lane roads. The trees are unforgiving. Trees, and ditches, and culverts. They're unforgiving.
Yeah, there was It was before I got into flight. We had a call on one of the 2-lane roads here, and I guess fire department beat us there because I don't think we were second in ambulance. I guess we're first in ambulance and fire department. Anyway, she got ejected, and like her whole lower body was just like obliterated, like fractures. Legs were just swelling up from all the blood and fractures. And we airlifted her out. We called it air evac for them, and I think she wound up having a decent recovery. I remember it was years later, my wife was like, hey, that girl, remember you flew out that time? I was like, yeah, kind of vaguely. She's like, that's her. She's walking around.
Wow.
But like the more
story, man.
Yeah, and one of the more amazing things too from that, but not do with her, which it's just amazing to me from an EMS standpoint of how some people get hurt and some people don't. There's some other guy that was walking around out there on the scene when we pulled up, and I just thought it was like a bystander or something. And as we're working on this girl, we're the only ambulance there, and I think one of the firefighters or police said, "Hey, this guy, he was the driver of the car," and I was like, "That dude was driving?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Was he? Does he have complaints?" Yeah. They're like, "Yeah, he's saying something." It's like you got to call an ambulance. I was like, I'm overtasked with this girl, but I was like, this dude's been walking around for like 10, 15 minutes. And like, this guy is uninjured and the girl got ejected and is like, extremely critical. Yeah. And it's like, what? Nobody said there was a driver. I thought there was the only person in the car.
Me and Mark had that same situation. Someone was coming down 19. The guy said he was dizzy and then he woke up he went off the road, flew off the bypass. Landed on, it was like the overpass for Sylvester Road.
Yeah.
Flew off that, crashed on Sylvester Road, went through 2 lanes of traffic, rolled the car numerous times, and we got the other car was on its side. I don't know how this guy got out because the hood, everything with the roof was smashed down. I don't know how he got out, and he's walking around. I'm like, man, you got to go to the hospital because I'm not going any hospital till I get the stuff out of my car. I'm going to my car. I'm getting my stuff. I said, sir, you can't go in that car. So that car is unstable. I said, the fire department can't go in that car until they secure the car.
Yeah.
He says, well, I'm not going anywhere. I got to get my stuff. So the fire department finally showed up, and I'm like, dude, man, I said, he wants to get in and get his stuff out of his car before he goes to the hospital. The fireman said, we can't let him in his car. So the guy said, so we could. I said, well, how long is it going to take you to stabilize it? He said, it's going to be a while. And the guy said, I refuse to go to the hospital. Leave me alone. I said, okay. I left. I told Mark, I said, we're going to be back to him. I said, because he's going to be hurting.
Yeah.
I said, right now, he don't hurt. But I said, he has to be hurting.
Gosh.
Sure enough, a half an hour later, we went back out to him. And the guy couldn't hardly walk, because he was walking around the scene. So
all that adrenaline
we
off.
took him out there. I said, you just bought yourself a thing to the trauma room, and you're going to be here a while. Well, he had a little box, I guess, with some money and his guns in there and his personal possessions. And I try to tell the guy that when they secure it, they're going to secure everything. No one's going to touch any of the stuff in your car. Because that's what the records do. They'll take it to a lot, and lock it up. He would not have any part of it. I don't know how this guy got out alive. No, not a scratch. Literally, Brad, not a scratch on him. Just some back pain. So, you just never know. You never know.
That's always been a surprising thing to me is the people that get hurt from stuff like that and the people that, don't make it. Like, I don't know.
Yep. Well, like I said, it's scary too. I hate, these people get into wrecks from they're out of town and then, their car's totaled. They're going to the hospital. They don't really know anybody.
Yeah.
They're stuck there. Well, what are they going to do? Back then they didn't have Uber to take you anywhere. I always felt, I'm always scared too. If I go out of town, like I'm supposed to go to like Destin, like this weekend, and if I get in a wreck out there, what am I going to do? Rent a car to get back home? All my stuff everywhere. So
yeah, that's something to consider. I remember when I worked for another private service ambulance for a little while, we had to take a lady back to Dothan, and she had wrecked her car and broke. All was wrong with her was she broke whatever her right ankle, right foot, couldn't drive a car. And family had money, and she had no way to get back. And family paid the ambulance to basically give her a taxi ride all the way back to Dothan. Called, gave him credit card number. And I was like, so what are we doing? They're like, you're picking her up at the hospital and taking her back to Dothan. I was like, Dothan?
Dothan.
And but yeah, family, I guess they swiped the card. The private company. And so I was like, Uber, I talked.
Well, is she going to get him back?
She sat in the captain's seat, and I talked to her the whole way to Dothan.
Really?
Because she didn't want to lay on the stretcher. All was wrong with her was her
broken foot.
Yeah, and she's like, I've been laying down in the hospital. She's like, do I have to lay? I was like, no. I was like, if you want to sit on the cabin seat, you can. She strapped in cabin seat, and I think one point she put her right foot up on the stretcher.
Elevated her foot and let her go.
Yeah, she didn't want to lay down. I was like, well, no reason you can't.
No, see, that's the thing about this job. You see it all.
Yeah.
You see it all, and you're prepared. Even things in your personal life that go wrong, you actually can work under pressure.
Yeah.
You actually can, when you see people falling apart, when you're not the one falling apart, people, you were so calm. Well, it's because it was the job teaches you got to be calm, even if you don't know what's going on.
Well, I think you have to kind of learn to compartmentalize to a degree. Yeah. Personal life, everybody's got a personal life affecting them, but time comes when a call comes and you got stuff to do. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah, you got to, you know. I think sometimes work was a therapy,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was at times. So
yeah, I don't disagree. It's just tough. I talked with Larry about that. Of like, the guy I talked to a couple weeks ago. Well, actually, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. Whenever I talked to Larry, was I guess some of the mental aspects of this job, especially like people like you that done it for like a long time, especially you that maintained, a marriage. And there's like I don't know what the divorce rate is in EMS, but it's got to be way up there. It's got to be 50%.
Cops.
Yeah,
same thing with cops.
Cops
might be a little bit more.
Yeah,
the nature of their job, but you got to have a strong marriage.
Yeah,
you really do, or a strong. Even if you're not married, if you're living together, if you even got a girlfriend, you got to have a strong because you're gone.
Yeah,
you're gone, and sometimes you can't call them for 12 hours because you're that much. You're that busy. And then. You're at your work a quarter of your life if you're working 24, 72, or even at 24, 48, you're at work a third of your life.
Yeah.
You're away from the house. Yeah, you're going to miss birthdays and Christmases and all that stuff. It's just the nature of the beast, and it's not cut out for everybody. But there again, I don't know if I can ever work a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Look, I've said that many times. I don't think I could.
Every day, taking the same route, sitting in the office, and going home. For 5 days in a row?
Yeah.
I just don't think I would ever be able to do that. I got to where I enjoyed, especially when I worked in Lee County, I loved working the weekends in Lee County. I'd rather have off Mondays and Tuesdays, and I'd rather work Saturdays and Sundays when I was in Lee County, just because it was the weekend and it was a slow area, slow time. I felt it was. And I'd just rather have off during the week. Weekends, too many people out running around, I love Monday mornings. Monday and Tuesday mornings, man, is my bread and butter. It's slow. I do all my little running around stuff.
Yeah, I do like when I have my days off and I get stuff done here at the house. Mm-hmm. Kids are at school and I can get stuff accomplished, tasks I need to do. It's like I don't know if I could do a 9 to 5 and like.
Ooh, I don't think I can do it.
I've never done it. I've been working like this. I've been working. Started fire department 22. Mm-hmm. So this is like basically all I've ever known was working 24-hour shifts.
Until I started EMS, I was pretty much 9 to 5s at the hotel, and just when I worked at these contracted construction jobs and stuff, they were 9 to 5. But once you get used to the shift work and you're off for 2 or 3 days in a row, and I know the 24 hours are rough, but the 24, 72 hours, man, I love that shit in Dougherty County. I absolutely do. And maybe, possibly. If they would have kept it at 24.72 instead of 24.48, I might have been able to go a little longer. But I'll tell you, it took a toll on me personally because I never had time to recover. I'd come home, and we were busy, so I'd have to recover that day. I'd have one day to do my stuff, and then I felt like I was right back in it again. Yeah, and that's basically the way it was. So, but I think I made the right decision. I'll miss the job, but there's other things that'll keep me busy.
Yeah, I always found it, or I still try to hold this rule, is like when I'm on shift, as far as like relationship stuff goes, like I hate having to have any kind of argument while I'm at work. Like I'm like, this has got to wait or something. Because I feel like it takes me completely out of it. And like, I don't want to, I can't do anything about it right now. I'm at work.
Yeah.
Then you get toned or something. You're like,
well, now I got to go.
Yeah, now I got to go. And it's still like unresolved. Like this big a issue. I couldn't, wait or something. Like I don't know. That's one I got pet peeve of mine. I guess
that type of. I've never had that situation.
Yeah.
Where my wife understood and she knew I had to work.
Yeah.
And she had to work. And it was never. I guess maybe if we had kids, there would be a lot more issues. Mm-hmm. There'd be a lot more background noise going on.
Yeah.
But it was just her and I, and you just work things out.
Yeah.
The best you can.
Yeah, Chris seemed real easygoing a few times I met her. Like I never really had a long conversation with her or anything. Your wife, but I met her a few times.
Yeah. I tell you, I got on her nerves. I know what there's no doubt about it. I know I'm a little peculiar at things. Yeah. I've been told that many times.
Well, I actually got to deal with my ADHD, behind. You know, and she's fairly compulsive. She likes stuff certain ways, and you got me as all scatterbrained working on different things at once.
See, the perfect match. Perfect match.
She might not
Keep
say
everybody
that.
in check. Everybody needs to be checks and balances.
Yeah, like I said, I think she gets happy sometimes when I have to go away to work. And
I know Chris did. You is it time to go to work yet? You got an extra shift? Have you had any extra shifts?
I want the house to myself for just a little bit.
I think that like I said, I think it's actually due to like the length of marriage.
Yeah.
Has to do with that part of it. It was like, God. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, Brad.
Well, I'm trying to think of anything else I might have missed at you. I mean, I really want to know like a little bit of your background and stuff. I knew you're from New York, and all that. But
a very simple person.
Yeah.
I don't ask for much. It doesn't take much to make me happy.
No. I just always, like I said, and I hope it's been conveyed in this, just how that you were just a good person. Like you didn't. I mean, you expected nothing out of anybody else that you didn't expect out of yourself.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it ought to be.
Yeah.
It really ought to be. You just got to always remember that there's things going on in everyone's life. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of layers to the onion. And there's a lot of background noise, and you have to take that into consideration. A smart remark might just be. It's not the smart remark. It's the stuff that's going on all before the smart remark that can set people off. So I find that if something upsets you, honestly, this works. If you truly count to 5 before you say anything, things get de-escalated a lot quicker. So before you jump on somebody for something, just count to 5.
I need to tell myself that more often because I'm so impulsive on stuff.
You really, it changes a lot of things. Just count to 5 and just, 1. And then it's like, hey, you word things different. You can say the same point and get your point across. But a lot of time it's not so much what you say. It's the way you say it.
Oh, yeah.
How you say it and the inflections in your words. So if you count to 5, you end up working through that a little bit. So just try that.
I probably just actually gets me on that. Like, that's not what it sounded like you meant.
Yeah. You just count to 5. Just count to 5 before you say it. That's my thing. Whew. I guess that's it, Brad.
Well, I'm glad you stopped by, Pete.
Man, like thanks for having
me.
Hey,
anytime.
It's been great.
Yeah.
And like I said, once you edit this, there might be some things you might want to take out.
No. There's nothing. I don't see anything to take out.
All right.
I pretty much just let it roll. Like I said, I'm just starting this, but there's a lot of people like yourself I want to talk to.
Well, there's a bunch of them out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a whole list of people.
Yeah. I got a list. You
got a list.
I haven't really said anything on here yet, but I've told you some people. But I don't want to like feel like I'm pressuring anybody by
sure.
like
I think
calling
it's
around
a good
here.
thing. You get everyone's viewpoint out. I think it's good. People will watch it and listen. Maybe they will listen.
Yeah.
Maybe they listen to me. Maybe they won't.
Yeah. Maybe if they do, they don't. I mean, if they do or they don't, it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm glad to be able to help you out.
Yeah.
I am.
Absolutely. Well, thank everybody for joining in. I'm glad I got Mr. Pete Radano on here.
Man, stop.
Enjoy your retired life. Like I said, you're gonna have to take up golf or fishing or something now.
I have to go fishing pond out here. I might have to fish a couple of fish.
Look, and there's the 9-hole golf course up there, so you can knock it all out.
Where is the 9-hole golf?
It's right at the end of the road. You keep going around at the end down there is the golf course.
That was the junkyard.
The junkyard's straight that way when you turn in. The scrap
is on Pine. No, I get.
And then you the road out here, my driveway. You go all the way down that way, and you get to the 9-hole golf course.
9-hole golf course. There you
got it all.
All in one shot. This is you. Go fishing and the 9-hole golf course.
Yeah.